Good evening. My name is Kathleen Brown, Chair of the Virginia Beach School Board, and I call this formal meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. Madam Clerk, would you please announce the roll?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Present in the school board chamber are Chair Brown, Vice Chair Weems, Mr. Bowensteel, Mr. Callen, Mr. Culpepper, Mr. Cummings, Ms. Dwyer, Ms. Felton, Dr. Green, Ms. Melnick, and Ms. Rogers.
Thank you. Please join me in a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance as you are able. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Chair, now we will enjoy the student, employee, and public awards recognitions for this evening, our favorite part of the meeting. All right, Mr. Bowensteel, thank you.
Our first recognition is for the Virginia Beach City Public Schools 2026 Virginia Association for the Gifted Outstanding Teacher of the Year Award. Please welcome Mallory Gilmore of Virginia Beach Middle School. The recipients of the Virginia Association of the Gifted 2026 Outstanding Teacher of the Year Award must exhibit outstanding qualities related to gifted education in the areas of teaching, curriculum development, and working with gifted children and their families. Additionally, they must demonstrate a strong commitment to gifted education through professional experiences, organizations, and services. Mallory Gilmore, gifted resource teacher at Virginia Beach Middle School, has spent all 10 of her years in education working with gifted students and advocating for the gifted education. She exhibits all the Teacher of the Year qualities in her work with gifted students and families. Congratulations, Ms. Gilmore, for being recognized as one of the 2 Virginia Beach City Public Schools Outstanding Teacher of the Gifted this school year. We are proud of you.
Other outstanding teacher of the gifted, who is also a regional winner. Please welcome Jamie O'Dall. Jamie is from Plaza Middle School. Annually, each school division in Virginia can submit to the Virginia Association of the Gifted nominees for the Outstanding Teacher of the Gifted Award. From this pool of exceptional educators, the person is selected as the Outstanding Regional Gifted Teacher of the Year. This year, Jamie O'Dall, Gifted Resource Teacher at Plaza Middle School, was selected as one of the VBCPS's Outstanding Teachers of the Gifted and also selected as the Region 2 Gifted Teacher of the Year. Mrs. O'Dall has spent over half of her career as an educator working with gifted students and advocating for gifted education. Congratulations, Mrs. O'Dall. We are so very proud of you.
And now we have the School Resource Officer of the Year.
Good evening, Chairwoman Brown, Vice Chair Weems, school board members, and Dr. Robertson. My name is Lieutenant Kevin Loki, and I have the privilege of serving as the commander of the Virginia Beach Police Department's Youth Services Unit. I also have the honor of working alongside 28 of the finest school resource officers in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Tonight, I have the distinct privilege of recognizing one of those exceptional officers as our School Resource Officer of the Year. This year's selection was based on nominations submitted by school personnel and police supervisors. As the nominations were reviewed, one candidate clearly stood out among an exceptional group of school resource officers. MPO Whitney Ray has proudly served as a school resource officer the past 3 years. She is currently assigned to Bayside High School and previously served at Bayside Middle School and Renaissance Academy. MPO Ray represents everything we value in a school resource officer. She has built strong, trusting relationships with students, faculty, and staff through her compassion, professionalism, and genuine commitment to serving others. Students see her as someone they can rely on, and she has even changed the way some young people view law enforcement through her kindness and dedication. She demonstrates outstanding judgment, works closely with school administrators to create a safe learning environment, and goes above and beyond for the students she serves. One example of her character was when she learned a senior student was experiencing hardship and personally purchased his senior package to ensure he would not miss an important milestone. Beyond her daily responsibilities, MPO Ray frequently volunteers at school and community events, strengthening relationships with young people throughout our city. She truly embodies the spirit of service and sets a standard for others to follow. Please join me in congratulating MPO Whitney Ray, the Virginia Beach Police Department's School Resource Officer of the Year for the 2025-2026 school year.
Chair Brown, that concludes our recognitions for this evening.
Okay, we are now on to the adoption of the agenda. Are there any modifications to the agenda as presented? Okay, seeing none, the motion for the agenda adoption is Ms. Melnick, seconded by Mr. Bowensteel. Any discussion? Seeing none, I call for the vote to approve the agenda as presented.
Mr. Culpepper, how do you vote? So, Madam Chair, we have 11 ayes. The motion to pass for the adoption of the agenda as presented.
Thank you. And Dr. Robertson, we look forward to your recognitions.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. We are pleased tonight to have several recommendations for new appointments. We'll begin with Heidi Kalma. We're pleased that you've accepted our recommendation. Okay, am I on the right page here? Because that is not. Wrong folder? No. Okay, I do not have. Yeah, I don't have that. One minute, because I do not have that. But you're good, Elena. No worries. Yeah. Figure get that right out there, you know. Yes. Okay, yes, we had a meeting, yes. So, yes. All right, let's get going again. All right, we're pleased you've accepted our recommendation for Elena Bond, currently an AP at SeaTech Elementary School and Achievable Dream, to be the next principal of SeaTech Elementary School and Achievable Dream. And I see you have some guests.
I do. So with me, I have both of my girls. I have Lucy Jones, who is a current student at Pembroke Meadows, and I have Zoe Jones, who's going to be a student at Pembroke Meadows next year. I have my husband, Stephen Jones. I have the current principal at SeaTac, Matt Fiske. I have Chris Middleton, who is the executive director of Unachievable Dreams for Virginia Beach. I'm pretty sure that's his title now. And then I have my dad and mom, who were both 37 years educators in Virginia, Jeff Bone and Sue Ann Dittmeyer.
All right. Congratulations, Ms. Bone. Next, we have Gabe Howard. We're pleased you've accepted our recommendation for Gabe Howard, currently an assistant principal at Old Donation School, to be the next principal at Salem Elementary School. And we see you have some guests.
Yes, sir. With me, I have my wife, Katie, fifth grade teacher, VBCPS. My daughter, Ryan, freshman at First Colonial High School. My son, Ben, sixth grader at Plaza Middle School. My brother, Zach. My mom, Nina Howard, retired educator. My dad, Don Howard, retired social worker. My father-in-law, Terry Estel, current TST and VBCPS. My mother-in-law, Beth Estel, reading specialist, VBCPS. And my current principal and good buddy, Joel Goldenshoe, principal, Donation School.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Up next, we have Catherine Katie Johnson, currently an assistant principal at Strawbridge Elementary School. We're pleased to announce she'll be the next principal at John B. Dye Elementary School. Congratulations. And we see you have some guests.
I do. I have my husband, Ryan Johnson, 23 years. I have my oldest daughter, Riley Johnson. She's currently a sixth grader at Great Neck Middle School. I have Jane Johnson, who will be at John B. Dye with me. She's currently a third grader there. And I also have my current principal and friend, Jackie Sargent, with me.
Congratulations. Next up, we have Karen Cagle, currently the assistant principal at Woodstock Elementary. We're pleased you've accepted our recommendation for her to be the next principal of Indian Lakes Elementary School.
Thank you. I have my husband, Daryl, my son, Joey, my sister, Anne-Marie, who's a retired principal, my mom, Barbara, who is retired from education, and I have my assistant principal to be, well, he is now an assistant principal, Jordan Barbarisi. I also, I have my boys, Patrick and his wife, Olivia, joining us from Washington, D.C., and my son, Brian, and his wife, Taylor, joining us from Gainesville, Florida. They're watching.
All right, congratulations. And last but not least, we're pleased you've accepted our recommendation for Stephanie Marshall, currently an assistant principal at Corporate Landing Elementary School, to be the next principal of Providence Elementary School. And Stephanie, I see you have some guests.
I do. I have Angela Maneri, who's my current principal and friend as well, and supporter. I have Dr. Mom, who is my mother. She's also an educator as well. I have Courtney, who is my sister, who's also an educator. I have my brother-in-law, Derek Williams. I have my dad, whose birthday is today, and he's celebrating it with me.
All right.
He did 28 and a half years in the Navy. And then I have a host of friends and supporters who have supported me through the programs that we have in Virginia Beach for the aspiring principals.
Yeah, congratulations.
Dr. Manigo and Dr. France.
So there was a common theme tonight with these individuals being recommended, and that is education runs deep in their family. So to all of you, thank you very much for the years you put into public education. It makes a difference, and we're quite certain you have prepared the individuals that we've introduced tonight to do a great job. We're excited for their future. Thank you very much for coming, and go enjoy.
You want me to? I don't know if anyone's gonna make the motion for it, but, all right. We are now on to the approval of the meeting minutes for May 26th, 2026 regular meeting. Are there any modifications to those minutes as presented? Mr. Culpepper? Oh, okay. Okay. All right, motion made by Mr. Culpepper, seconded by Ms. Dwyer. Any discussion? Seeing none, I call for the vote to approve the meeting minutes as presented.
Is he able to vote? He's not able to vote. Okay, Mr. Culpepper, you got it. And Ms. Weems, is Ms. Weems has stepped out?
She went to the restroom.
Okay. So, Madam Chair, we have 10 ayes. The motion to pass for the approval of the meeting minutes from May 26th.
Thank you. We are now on to the public comments, and we will hear public comments on matters relevant to pre-K through 12 public education in Virginia Beach and the business of the school board and the school division from citizens and delegations who signed up with the school board clerk prior to noon today. The purpose for the public comment section is for the school board to offer an orderly forum to receive public comments during the school board meeting. I call upon all speakers and all persons in chambers to be civil in discussion and decorum. Whatever views you wish to express, the school board wants to hear from you and to ensure that all viewpoints and perspectives are heard. The best way to do this is for all of us to strive for civility and respect. Madam Clerk, would you please introduce the first speaker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our first speaker is Shannon Stoner, Diane Muscovak, and then Courtney Prutney.
Good evening, Chairwoman Brown and board members. My name is Shannon Stoner, and I am a kindergarten teacher at Parkway Elementary. This Friday, I wrap up my 28th year as an educator, 9 of those right in the heart of kindergarten. I am here tonight to ask the board to preserve Chromebook access for our kindergarten and first grade scholars. There is a common misconception that devices in early childhood mean passive screen time. In my classroom, it means the exact opposite. Our Chromebooks are a vehicle for creation, reflection, and deeper family connection through a platform called Seesaw. Seesaw acts as a digital portfolio. Instead of just staring at a screen, my scholars use creative tools like photographs, voice recordings, and video to capture what they are learning at their independent math and literacy stations and explain their thinking. Because each student has a Chromebook, they can instantly document their work. I review these posts daily, leaving specific voice feedback, which allows me to catch exactly who is thriving and who needs immediate intervention. But the magic of this technology doesn't stay inside the classroom. Seesaw connects up to 10 family members to a single student's journal. Parents get a window into their child's school day in real time. They leave encouraging comments, which skyrocket student motivation and ownership. More importantly, here in Virginia Beach, this is a lifeline for our military community. Over the years, I have taught numerous children with deployed parents. While serving our country thousands of miles away, these parents have been able to log in, see their child's face, hear their voice explaining a math problem, and stay intimately connected to their education. Without individual Chromebooks, this vital bridge between the classroom and the home completely disappears. We don't need fewer tools to connect our families. We need to protect the ones that work. I warmly invite any member of this board into my classroom to see this engagement in action. Please reconsider removing Chromebooks from our youngest learners, or please consider a compromise of keeping 5 to 7 Chromebooks per class so our students don't lose access to this vital tool. Thank you for your time and your continued support of our teachers.
Our next speaker is Diane Muscovak, Courtney Prutney, and then Jennifer Hughes.
Good evening, everyone. I am honored to share that after a year of rigorous study, I have become a certified school chaplain. This journey required the completion of 87 lectures, 64 quizzes, extensive coursework, background checks, and multiple professional and personal references, all while working full-time and studying nights and weekends. This was not simply an academic pursuit, but a commitment to better serve children in our public schools. The training I completed through the National School Chaplains Association is comprehensive and well-established. It prepares individuals to support students emotionally, mentally, and in times of crisis, while always respecting the diverse beliefs and backgrounds represented in public education. Before even beginning the program, I underwent a thorough background screening, including county, state, and federal record checks, as well as multi-jurisdictional and sex offender database search. In addition, the application required documentation of over 2,000 hours of ministerial work. For me, that experience spans over 21 years of volunteer service, never paid, always from the heart. This includes mission work in Nicaragua with Orphan Network, serving in various roles within my church and working with PEN Ministry, which stands for People in Need, supporting individuals experiencing homelessness. The training also included certifications in school safety and crisis response, such as Stop the Bleed through the American College of Surgeons, Comprehensive School Threat Assessment Guidelines, ALICE, Active Shooter Response Training, and additional coursework through ORU One Campus. I share all this to emphasize one thing. This role is not taken lightly. It is grounded in preparation, accountability, and a deep commitment to student well-being. My heart is to protect and to support all children, regardless of their background, their beliefs, or their circumstances. Children don't get a choice, but as a community, we can share the responsibility to support them. School chaplains are not there to replace counselors or impose beliefs. They are there to listen, to support, to be a trusted, safe presence, especially for students who may be struggling silently. If chaplaincy is welcomed in the Virginia Beach schools, my role would be strictly as a volunteer, serving alongside educators and staff to help meet the growing emotional and mental health needs of students. Every child matters, every child deserves support, and together we can help shape stronger, healthier futures, starting as early as kindergarten. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Courtney Pritney, Jennifer Hughes, and then Kathleen Megaskak.
Good evening. Again, my name is Courtney Prunty, and I'm a pediatric speech-language pathologist and parent of a rising kindergartner zoned for John B. Dye. I'm returning today in hopes to represent the hundreds of parents who are excited and hopeful to see this policy revision on Chromebooks pass. What I would want you to know, if you don't already, is that the next wave of parents coming through your school system are beginning to stop and ask themselves, how did we get here? And is this truly what's best for my child? Parents are increasingly sharing resources about the potential harms of excessive technology use and are gathering together to discuss evidence, support one another, and create intentional family media plans that align with their values. There's also groups of parents within our school district participating in the Wait Till the 8th movement, pledging to delay smartphones and social media access for children until after 8th grade. I truly believe you will begin to see more parents asking these difficult questions of schools. And during the last meeting, there were some comments suggesting, well, we're all addicted and these issues begin at home, pointing fingers at parents and implying that schools are not responsible. Perhaps we should all just accept our device addictions and digital reliance. Well, part of this is true. As a society, we are addicted. And parents do have responsibility. But schools became responsible in this discussion the moment one-to-one devices entered the classroom. And most importantly, I believe this is a collective responsibility that we all take part in. And the time to act on this responsibility is now. There's just no shortage of studies supporting this decision. Even the latest Surgeon General's warning specifically calls upon all stakeholders in children's lives, including parents, children themselves, schools, physicians, and allied health professionals to work together to address the harms associated with excessive screen time. Some very specific recommendations for schools were made, including limit screen use by assigning work in books or paper whenever possible, and prioritize pen and paper curricula, and many more. Lastly, Randy Weingarten, the president of the American Federation of Teachers, one of the largest teachers unions in America, shared a really impactful speech this past week titled Devices Down, Eyes Up, Hands On, calling upon schools to scale back device usage with a direct request to eliminate Chromebook use for kindergarten through 2nd grade and wait to adopt AI into classrooms until age 16. Change is coming on how we use technology in the classroom, and I think it will require all of us to work together thoughtfully and collaboratively. So let's get back to basics and prioritize our youngest learners first by passing this policy revision. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jennifer Hughes, Kathleen Maguskak, and then Terry George.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Jennifer Hughes, and I'm an elementary educator here in VBCPS. I'm here to urge you to keep devices in kindergarten and first grade. If you are concerned about screen time, let's find a thoughtful compromise. Going from 100% one-to-one with devices to 0% is an extreme reaction. Instead of deleting the tool entirely, let's limit daily instructional minutes. Keep the infrastructure, but manage the time. When a teacher leads intensive small groups, adaptive software like Lexia and Imagine Math provides students with meaningful access to personalized learning opportunities and immediate feedback. They provide targeted reading and math practice tailored to each child's individual needs. Without them, meeting our strict instructional requirements becomes more challenging. This is also a major equity issue. For many Title I students, school may be the only place they interact with technology for learning. If you take these devices away, our lowest income students will fall further behind. Furthermore, these devices are how we teach digital citizenship. Under a teacher's guidance, students learn how to navigate the online world safely and responsibly. If you ban devices, you forfeit the chance to teach these vital survival skills in a controlled environment, leaving kids vulnerable at home. This decision also creates a compliance hardship. Virginia mandates sequential K-2 computer science SOLs that build year over year. How do you expect us to teach these mandatory state standards without hardware? Second, this district just completed a major math textbook adoption process. A deciding factor in selecting that resource was its robust digital options and supplemental resources. And we desperately need those assets. In early childhood math, we rely on the CRA model, concrete, representational, abstract. Students will lose access to the virtual manipulatives, which support the representational phase, bridging the gap to abstract thought. Our students are not passively consuming or gaming. They are utilizing these math tools and creating portfolios on Seesaw and exploring the world via platforms such as Nearpod and Google Earth. High-stakes NWEA map testing and SOL testing begin in the second grade. Continuous K through second grade experience builds the foundational skills they need, so technology is a familiar tool, not an active barrier by the time testing arrives. I implore you to keep the devices within K1 and potentially with classroom limitations. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Kathleen Maguskak, Terry George, and then Linda Griffin.
Good evening. I'm Kathy Maguskak, a kindergarten teacher at Diamond Springs Elementary School. Before you make your decision about Chromebook use in the primary grades, I want to share with you how I use Chromebooks in my classroom. Our curriculum-aligned programs for kindergarten are Lexia and Imagine Math. Students take tests to assess their levels of proficiency in different areas of math, like patterns, shapes, and number sense in the Imagine Math program. Imagine Math uses this information to place students in digital lessons that supplement our curriculum. This allows our students to review material taught at different points in the year, creating a richer learning experience. Lexia works in a similar way with reading skills. In Seesaw, I have created a library of activities that allow me to assign them to certain students. This provides customized reading and math practice for students during independent work time. I can embed activities from our Go Math program into these Seesaw assignments as well. In addition, students can respond to these activities by recording their responses. This provides additional data that I can use to measure student proficiency in previously taught skills. For example, a Seesaw lesson that I created has students listen to a short story and then record themselves retelling that story, stating the beginning, the middle, and the end of the story that they have just heard. This is then shared with parents, helping to keep them informed of their children's progress and the expectations for these skills. I primarily use Chromebooks at independent workstations so that students can practice skills using the apps that I just explained. Sometimes my assistant and I call students to my table during lessons to introduce a new activity or a new technology skill using the Chromebooks. This means that students are using their Chromebooks for 20-minute stations. Primarily, I don't use Chromebooks for more than 20 minutes a day in my classroom. I'm very purposeful with my Chromebooks. Students use them for learning activities, not for free time or play. I monitor students on my computer using the Securely app to make sure students are actively learning during station time. This reflects the Chromebook use for most of the teachers at my school, and I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Terry George, then Linda Griffin, then Laura Beth Lawver.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the Virginia Beach School Board. My name is Terry George, and I'm the proud parent of an Ocean Lakes Elementary School student in District 5 and a board-certified behavior analyst serving children with autism throughout our community. My professional work focuses on helping children develop functional communication skills, social interaction skills, independence, and other skills that support long-term success. I am here tonight to respectfully ask the school board to pass Policy 618 as it is written. Children between ages 4 and 6 are in one of the most important periods of brain development of their life. During these years, children learn language through conversations, social skills through face-to-face interactions, self-regulation through play, and problem-solving through hands-on experiences with the world around them. These developmental opportunities cannot be replicated through a screen. A growing body of peer-reviewed research has found that increased screen time and preschool-age children is associated with poorer language development, weaker communication skills, reduced cognitive performance, decreased school readiness, and increased developmental vulnerability. Research has also linked excessive screen use with sleep problems, attention difficulties, emotional regulation challenges, and reduced opportunities for meaningful social interactions. As both a parent and a clinician, I see firsthand the importance of teaching children to communicate, to engage socially, and to learn through direct interaction with teachers, peers, and their environment. For many young children, especially those with developmental challenges, these experiences are critical and should not be replaced by routine dependence on school-issued devices. Technology certainly has its place in education, and I commend everything the teachers have done with technology. However, children ages 4 through 6 do not need increased access to personal school-issued devices in order to develop fundamental academic, communication, and social skills. What they need most are books, conversation, imaginative play, hands-on learning, movement, and meaningful engagement with caring adults and their peers. I respectfully urge the board to prioritize child development and to evidence-based practices, to consider the research and healthy learning environments by passing Policy 618 as it is written. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Our next speaker is Linda Griffin, Laura Beth Lawver, and then Teresa Langle.
Good evening, School Board, Dr. Roberts. I'm here to discuss the substitutes in your district. I know that there is often a misconception about the different levels of substitutes, and I have prepared a printout that I made today for each of you, if you care to take one later. The day-to-day sub is someone who goes into the school on a day-to-day basis as they feel available. Their time's available. There's no responsibility before school or after school. The site assigned sub, SAS, or PERM sub, as we're sometimes called, is the person who is assigned to one school for the entire term. Another sub cannot be called to fill in for a site assigned sub if that site assigned sub is absent that day. And so there is no one to cover what the site assigned sub, sorry, but I have to keep using the term because that's what we are. It makes the site assigned sub that much more valuable because if that person is not there, there's a gap in coverage. Pay is calculated on the number of days in a pay period. If that pay period includes staff days, snow days, or holidays, the pay is reduced by that number of days. A long-term sub is someone who fills a position normally for a longer period of time, usually more than 21 days. A long-term sub pay is retroactive then to the first day that they started if the long-term sub did not miss any days. That this substitute assumes the duties of the replaced teacher, meaning parent-teacher conferences and communications, grading, preparing lessons, and etc. There is no pay for a missed day, even though the long-term sub would be expected to have plans ready for someone coming in. My concern are the next few items. There is very little difference between the certified sub and the non-certified sub pay scale. However, there is a significant difference between someone who has completed only 60 hours or someone who has come in to the industry or military and someone who has a 4-year bachelor of degree. The assigned sub is an integral part of the school, and I would be asking that that person maybe gets a 60 to 75% of what they normally make on a day to cover the days that they wouldn't be there. So I am leaving this information for you. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Laura Beth Lawver, Teresa Langle, and then Heather Sipe.
Hi, my name is Laura Beth Lawver, and I'm here again after the last meeting because I have never been more disheartened after the last meeting to be a Virginia Beach City School employee. Every single one of the school board members thanked the teachers for filling out their survey, and we appreciate it, and we take everything that you say as expertise into consideration, but then 10 seconds later said that we're not going to listen to you. I believe 84% of teachers in the grade levels filled out the forms, and it was overwhelmingly saying that taking it away completely. We're not saying it definitely has to be one-to-one. We're not saying it has to stay exactly the same, but taking it away completely is going to be disruptive to our students. Yet at least six of you said, we appreciate your input, but I teach my kids, if you have to say, I don't mean to be mean, but you're going to, whatever comes after that, but you just negated everything you just said. So you just basically told every kindergarten and first grade teacher in Virginia Beach that you don't care what their expertise is or what's going on in our classrooms. 13% of parents filled out that survey. 13%. That tells me that 87% didn't think it was a big enough problem to fill it out and let you know how they feel. I've heard in the hallways, teachers are not going to be doing surveys anymore because they're like, every time we're asked, we give our opinion and it is ignored completely. Also, the other thing is to listen to everybody talk. They need to be using pen and paper. We are using pen and paper. Every single classroom is. If you guys could have come to Cook Elementary last Thursday for our curated works of art and seen the amazing work that these students are doing, you would be blown away. And the 20 to 30 minutes that they are spending on a computer is not taking away from that. If anything, it's enhancing that. And it was very disheartening. Again, the school board member who comes to our school the most today spent his time in PE instead of coming to see what we are doing in the classrooms. And it's not, I think last week we also got very into the Alexia and Imagine Math, but it is used for a lot of other things. I teach in a classroom with a huge variety of ability. We have to do dictated sentences. So I have one kid who she can't get the first word down in the 3 minutes, and this student has already written the whole sentence. So you know what we use the Chromebooks for? We record those sentences on them, so they put their headphones on, They're using pen and paper while they're on the computer, but this student can sit and push play 15 times, and she was finally successful instead of crying because we had to move on. And the other student who can read it and write it in 1 minute can be done and move on to something more enriching. Also, it is going to put down to the equity. We have a huge ESL population at our school, and they have to take their access testing on a computer, which again is going to take away from that if they are not learning how to use a computer correctly.
And that is time. Our next speaker is Teresa Langle and then Heather Sipe.
Hi, everybody. It's been a while since I've been here. I'm against 168, meaning that I don't think that the younger grades should be using the Chromebooks or actually really any kind of computer. I have 3 reasons I wrote to you in April. One is the physical effect, literally on their body, their eyes, their posture, carpal tunnel, all those things that go with using a computer. I actually would say all the way up through middle school because they're still forming physically so much. Also, their critical thinking skills. That's one of the things that really that I feel is important because I know I scored SOLs and I noticed that the right answer the state gives, the student's not doing their own critical thinking. When you get students together and they're going to brainstorm and things like that, those ideas should come from them and not computers. So I'm talking about a wide range of grades, but really they should be doing their own thinking. And that's with AI too. When AI puts things together and all that, we've all used it, and you know that sometimes it doesn't even sound like you talking. So I think that that's in such early years, in those formative years, that those skills should not be, they're better off learning hands-on or, she said on paper, yeah, write those down. We've just gotten handwriting skills because when you're handwriting, you're thinking as you talk. So creativity and retention, physical things, and then lastly, the social interaction. Somebody here talked about that. The interaction between teacher and student, between students. I think when you're solving issues in life that it doesn't always come from a computer. When you're that young, you're learning how to settle problems, whether it's on a piece of paper or whether it's with other students or with your teacher. You're learning those skills, and I don't think that a computer is the answer to that. So that's 50 seconds, yeah. So I just want to take a little example of something that happened to me when I went back to go back to school. I went to Virginia Wesleyan, and I had to take some remedial courses at TCC on my math, right? I did trigonometry on the board, and I remember problems covering, and this is in high school. So when I went to take the math, I quickly outdid all the students that were coming in. And I had to go use their computer, right?
And that is
so I went
time?
to use the computer, and I did just fine.
And
But
that is time.
They could not go from paper to computer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Heather Sipe.
Good evening, Chairwoman Brown, Vice Chair Weems, Dr. Robertson, members of the school board. My name is Heather Sipe, and I am president of the Virginia Beach Education Association. I'm here this evening to speak about the recommendations for Policy 6-18. Ensuring student screen time is kept at a minimum during the school day, especially for our youngest learners, is important. At the last school board meeting, comments were made that you can only control their exposure while they are at school, and so the point of the policy is to do just that. But as part of this policy, you're going to send Chromebooks home in 3rd through 5th grade and give students access to devices in environments you cannot control? That seems counterproductive to me. If your intent is truly to reduce screen time to the fullest extent possible for our younger learners, then sending Chromebooks home at the elementary level should be reserved for severe weather events or other emergencies that call for virtual learning. However, if you continue forward and allow these devices to be sent home, There needs to be frequent family outreach, training sessions for families, and clear written expectations and guidelines for at-home use. And for our littles, on the surface, eliminating Chromebooks and similar devices in our pre-K through first grade classrooms seems like a logical step. But there are factors at play, including the collection of student benchmark and achievement data, and the Virginia Department of Education's Computer Science and Digital Learning Integration Standards of Learning for kindergarten and first grade that are going to create challenges for our teachers. They are going to need sustained support in this transition. Full elimination is not the answer. Reduction should take priority over full elimination. And to be clear, support does not mean increased mandatory professional development. Some PD is to be expected, but they are going to need increased levels of support from people. Administrators, curriculum coordinators, instructional specialists, literacy and math coaches, instructional technology specialists, and library media specialists, to name a few. And these staff are also going to need to be supported so that they can provide the resources and support to our pre-K, kindergarten, and first grade teachers that they are going to need. Additionally, there need to be clear written expectations and guidelines across the division. The burden of implementing this policy change cannot rest on the shoulders of our teachers. This will need to be a true collaborative effort with families, and the support for our teachers needs to be multifaceted. Reconsider full elimination, reduction, not elimination, and also consider maybe rolling it out. Pre-K this year, kindergarten next year, first grade the year at that. Give our staff the time they need to do it right.
And Madam Chair, that was our last speaker for this evening.
Thank you. Okay, we are now on to school board committee assignment modifications for term ending June 30th, 2027. That is here in your packet, but Ms. Linetti, you had emailed me today about the fact that the bylaw was never updated for Harbor Hope, and we had voted on that last year. So what do you suggest the process is?
The bylaw does allow you to have other committees on there, and I think you actually have, I think it's the roundtables on here, and that's not listed in the bylaw. So you can do that. But we realized last year that we needed a representative for Harbor Hope, so there was a separate vote. Mrs. Melnick made a motion to appoint Mrs. Weems as that person. We could do it that way as a separate vote, or my suggestion would be to add to the committee assignments the Harbor Hope Center, because you do need a school board member to serve on that committee. It's similar to CSEP and to Governor's School for the Arts, in that you have a school board member from every one of the regional schools serves on that. You can either do it as a separate vote, but it might be easier to put it on this list so we don't forget in future years to do that.
Yeah, so that's actually what I'm going to suggest. And, colleagues, I'm sorry that I didn't notice that sooner. I got that email today around, I don't know, I want to say 2:30 or 3 o'clock. But I am going to recommend Vice Chair Weems to stay on that. And Vice Chair Weems and I had a lot of conversation about these committees and continuity and the movement of the board. There was one VB rounds table that I realized at one point during the year we had, and it had been going on for a while, but it didn't quite fit into the bylaws, so we added it in. I didn't try to change it. I just wanted to make sure that we were following that. So your draft that's in front of you is our recommendations, and I will also be adding my recommendation for Vice Chair Weems for the Harbor Hope Governing Board. We vote on that. Ms. Rogers.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to request that, I know that all of our discipline committees have times next to them, and I would request that we allow the discipline committee members to decide their own time based on their own schedules.
And that is what we have always done. Actually, Mr. Cummings had emailed me about that, because one said 1 o'clock, and the Wednesday Discipline Committee has been meeting at 3, so I agree with that modification, and I'm willing to also just take the time off. I do think, though, that reference of time may be useful for future board members to leave some sort of time there, so
And I will say, Madam Chair, that once the committee members are established, they sit down themselves and talk about the time and dates that they have to switch it. And we do publish a notice of all the disciplinary pay. And if one would have to change, let's say you had to move it up an hour because you had more cases scheduled, we would put out a notice for them. But we do an annual notice on the committee after the committee's appointed.
Okay. And I also did, the Wednesday committee, I put everybody that had indicated they needed to meet at 3 p.m. or later on one committee, and everyone that said they were a little more flexible are on the other 2 days, which has been what we've been doing. Ms. Melnick?
So I'm on the superintendent's community roundtable, and I actually thought, I didn't know that was I actually thought I was on there as a business owner, a career and technical education business owner, actually. And so when I saw that on there, I think it's great. I mean, I was going to ask Dr. Robertson when I'm done in December if I can stay on as a CTE partner business owner. But if somebody else wanted to serve in that capacity, there could be two people there. It would just be a 6-month overlap of 2 board members. But I only thought I was on there for my CTE. So whatever pleases the board, but until December, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Ms. Felton?
Chair Brown, I just want to be clear with the discipline hearing committee and committee 3. You've changed the time to 1 o'clock?
No.
Oh.
It just says that in there. No, I did not change it. The committee does the time, and Mr. Cummings, yourself, and Ms. Dwyer are all available at 3. And so it is at 3 p.m. I'm happy to modify it on there, that finalized document when we vote. But I do think that we probably should leave a time in there for future board members. We do have elections, and we have the potential for up to 6 new board members, so. Thank you. Okay. All right. We are now on to the Tri-Campus Additions Update, CIP 1-028, and we welcome Melissa Ingram, Executive Director, Office of Facility Services.
Good afternoon, Chair Brown, Vice Chair Weems, members of the board, and Dr. Robertson. Thank you for the time to provide you with an update to the Tri-Campus Edition, CIP 1-028. We were happy to meet with staff this afternoon from both Diamond Springs Elementary School and Newtown Elementary School earlier today to give this update about the project as well, with about 50 staff represented. So I want to start with this first slide, which shows the timeline of the project, starting with planning and design a little over a year ago, with community input and several school board meetings. Throughout the process, the primary goal of this project has been to create a stronger educational environment for our tri-campus community, while reducing the number of transition students experience during their elementary years. After completing construction drawings this winter, we had a successful bid process, and we are now at the point to start construction activities this month, June 2026. We will continue to work with our design team, HBA, and our contractor, Sussex Development Corporation, who has recently worked with the City of Virginia Beach to expand a portion of the facilities at the Virginia Aquarium. The project will continue in several phases with a targeted move-in of August 2028 for the start of the 28-29 school year. So looking at an overview of the tri-campus schools, the project will add space as shown with the blue areas. Those are the areas for the additions at 2 of the school division's newest schools, at the southeast corner of Diamond Springs Elementary School and on the south side of Newtown Elementary School. Both of these schools have been built within the last 20 years in 2008 and therefore provide a flexible design with easy access to common spaces central to the schools. As these schools are designated Title I schools, careful attention was made during planning to ensure support spaces were adequately spaced throughout the new and existing spaces of the school in order to best serve the additional number of students planned at each school with this project. At Diamond Springs Elementary School, the addition is roughly 7,400 square feet for a total of 105,000 square feet when the addition is complete, and will serve a planned student population of 550 students in grades pre-K through 1, including ECSE students. At Newtown Elementary School, the addition is larger at 22,300 square feet in order to accommodate a planned 740 students in grades 2 through 5, for total square footage of roughly 113,000 square feet planned for the school at the completion of the project. So we'll now take a closer look at each school, starting with Diamond Springs Elementary School. Shown on this concept plan, which we reviewed earlier this year, is the addition on the southeast side of the building outlined in red, accommodating classrooms and support spaces for those lower levels of pre-K through first grade. Also highlighted in yellow are spaces with reconfiguration of existing walls for proper adjacencies of support spaces to grade level classrooms, including, just left of the addition, carving out a new hallway to provide access to the new spaces. Site work, including utilities and playground relocations, will also be needed with this addition, which will be constructed while the building is occupied. Now looking at the construction plans for the school, the addition outlined in red includes 4 core classrooms, all with restrooms, which throughout the plan, restrooms are outlined in blue, to accommodate the lower grade levels of the school. This plan also consolidates all under 5-year programs in pre-K and early childhood special education in one location within this attendance zone, and accommodates restrooms, again outlined in blue, in every classroom for these lower grade levels. The addition also includes 4 smaller resource spaces shown in green within the red addition outline. This is to accommodate professional learning collab spaces and spaces for special education resource and reading and math needs. With the need to tie the hallway and addition into the building, as you can see by the hatched area that has just been added to the slide, room 43, outlined in yellow, will not be able to be used by students or staff from July 2026 until January 2027. Throughout the existing building, all other interior wall modifications are also outlined in yellow. With these wall modifications in existing buildings, they plan to add 6 resource rooms of smaller sizes throughout the building. They are designed to be flexible and placed where needed in relation to core classrooms. And they are as small as under 100 square feet for one-on-one office space needs, for needs such as social workers in the 40 hall. And on the west side of the building, and other spaces created under 400 square feet to accommodate needs such as speech, special education resource, tutoring, and academic support needs. So we'll now take a look at the core classrooms in a little more detail. The plan also ensures adequate smaller class sizes, meaning more classrooms planned than if class sizes were at 24:1. With ECSE, and it'll show on the side, accommodating roughly 4 classrooms. Again, this can change. These spaces are to be flexible as the principal needs to use the space, but this is just to give you an idea of the core classrooms. Pre-K VPI in 6 classrooms throughout the school at a teacher-student ratio of 18:1, and grade K and grade 1 planned at 16:1, with kindergarten to be accommodated in 13 classrooms, and grade 1 to be accommodated in 12 classrooms. 2 core classrooms are also planned for self-contained special education students at a ratio of 10:1. So this project also considers the adequacy of existing common spaces. The cafeteria, gym, and library all meet the Virginia DOE minimum requirements for the school planned to serve the student body population of 550 students. With the cafeteria, and again showing up graphically for you, at 4,511 feet, it exceeds the minimum DOE square footage by over 2,000 square feet. The gym at 5,373 square feet exceeds the minimum by over 2,000 square feet. And the library at 2,463 square feet exceeds the minimum by over 500 square feet. Being built less than 20 years ago, office spaces, workrooms, storage, and parks and recreation uses are also adequate in these existing spaces. There's also room planned adjacent to the library, room 8B, that was formerly a computer lab. And this is available for classroom size space to accommodate uses such as STEM, science, or other multi-purpose needs in the school building to serve the population. There are also a dedicated art room and a dedicated music room, again showing up on the screen for you. And these spaces will be able to rotate the student population through these dedicated spaces to support art and music curriculum needs. With the addition, the new room 52, and again in that red area, that's planned to accommodate professional learning collaboration space for staff to use. And again, as I'm showing you these spaces, these are all flexible spaces where needs can be moved around as the administrator might need to as students change year to year. So we'll now take a look at, I think, Newtown Elementary School. No, it's not working. And the clicker is not working, I apologize. Thanks, Regina. Okay, here it is. Thank you, Regina. We'll take a look at Newtown Elementary School next. Again, starting with the concept plan, which you all had reviewed during the planning and design phase. Again, the addition is located on the south side of the building, shown in red, accommodating classrooms and support spaces for this. And here it's for 2 additional grade levels. Therefore, it's a larger addition, and it will accommodate throughout the whole school grades 2 through 5. Existing hallways will be used to connect to this new space. And you'll also see, if you look just north of the addition, there's an exterior courtyard that's also created with the addition to be used as a safe outdoor open space for the school. Also highlighted in yellow are spaces with reconfiguration of existing hall walls, as we looked at on Diamond Springs Elementary School. Again, and these are for proper adjacencies of support spaces to be accommodated near grade level classrooms throughout the building. These spaces are also flexible throughout the school. This addition will also be built while the building is occupied, require site work and utility work, and will include an upcoming HVAC upgrade for the school while the addition is being built. Okay, we're not frozen. Thank you, Regina. We'll now look at the construction plans for Newtown Elementary School. Again, the addition outlined in red. It includes 14 core classrooms. 2 of these 14 classrooms have restrooms built in them to accommodate any special education accessibility needs in this area of the school when the project is finished. The addition also includes 5 smaller resource spaces, which are shown in green within that red outline. And this is to accommodate needs such as Title I or academic support, ESL vals, or special education needs, again, in this area of the building as they might be needed. Considering the large number of core classrooms added to the school, Two group student restrooms outlined in blue. Again, this plan has all the restrooms outlined in blue as well. Will also be built with the addition accommodating boys and girls on either side, as well as a single occupancy restroom outlined in blue as well on the other side of the hall from the new grouped restrooms. Additional restrooms have been planned to minimize travel distance for the occupants and are in line with the current travel distances between existing classrooms and restrooms. Again, with interior wall modifications in the existing part of the building outlined in yellow, the plan also adds 5 resource rooms of smaller sizes throughout the building. Once again, to be flexible, and sizes vary from under 100 square feet for one-on-one needs, and then also at roughly 400 square feet to accommodate things such as in room 46, special education, OT-PT rooms, gifted needs, and then again, aligning with flexibility, considering proximity to core classrooms. And on this plan, it will show up now in dashed lines with the need for overhead preparation, again tying in the roof and the addition to the building. These 4 classrooms that are dashed along the existing exterior walls, rooms 20, 21, 30, and 31, will not be able to be used by students or staff from July 2026 until January 2027. And we'll now look at the core classrooms for Newtown Elementary School. Again, this project has been planned for a lower student population, a student-to-teacher ratio at Newtown Elementary School for all grades, not just K to 3, but also all grades 2 through 5. This means there are more classrooms planned at this school to accommodate this lower student-to-teacher ratio. So similar to Diamond Springs Elementary School, grades 2 and 3 are planned at a student-to-teacher ratio of 16:1. That means, and they'll show up on the screen here, 12 classrooms to accommodate second grade, 12 classrooms to accommodate third grade. Grades 4 and 5 have been planned, again, with a lower student-to-teacher ratio of 20:1. And that would mean roughly 11 classrooms to accommodate fourth and 10 classrooms to accommodate fifth grade at the completion of the project. And again, for core classrooms, considering 2 special ed self-contained classrooms at 10:1. Now looking at existing common spaces, these spaces have also been considered for educational adequacy and compared with the DOE minimum requirements. In this case, the cafeteria is at 4,313 square feet, which exceeds the minimum by over 1,800 square feet. You'll notice the minimum DOE requirement on these on the chart are higher than they were at Diamond Springs because it's planned for a larger population with the 740 students. But again, it still exceeds it at the cafeteria by 1,800 square feet. The gym at 5,365 square feet exceeds the minimum by over 1,200 square feet, and the library at 2,464 square feet exceeds the minimum by over 400 square feet. And again, this school's also built less than 20 years ago, so the office spaces, workroom storage, and parks and recreation spaces are adequate to also continue those uses at the school. Similarly, as at Diamond Springs Elementary School, there's a room adjacent to the library, M5, that is planned to be used as STEM, science, or any other multi-purpose need they might have at the school for the student population. There's also one of the classroom size rooms are planned for professional learning collaboration, similar again as Diamond Springs Elementary School was, and then it has a dedicated art and music room to be able to have the existing population meet those core curriculum needs for art and music throughout the school. And again, different in this one is we do have a second interior court line outlined in purple now, created for the school. And all classrooms facing this courtyard have an exterior door with access to the courtyard. Drainage improvements have already been planned with this courtyard, and we will be able to work with administration to understand what other additional needs might be best served by the new space for a safe outdoor learning environment. So we'll take an overall look at some of the, with both projects together, at some of the topic highlights for other planning efforts and infrastructure improvements. From a technology perspective, both projects have been reviewed to ensure they can fully support the additional technology infrastructure is planned at each school, including expanded Wi-Fi coverage, technology support in all new classrooms and support spaces, and a new dedicated data room at Newtown Elementary School to accommodate the increased number of classrooms being served at that location. Utilities have also been carefully evaluated. Significant utility improvements are planned at both sites, including electrical and stormwater infrastructure upgrades. HVAC improvements have been planned and underway as well. All new spaces will be tied into the existing HVAC system. At Diamond Springs Elementary School, a new central chiller system was completed in 2025, just last year. And at Newtown Elementary School, piping installation will begin this summer to support a future new central chiller HVAC system scheduled to come online in winter, spring of 2027. So looking at open space, adequate open space has also been incorporated into both projects to ensure playgrounds, green space, and athletic fields continue to support new student needs at the completion of the project. We have reviewed our playground replacement schedule in conjunction with these projects. At Diamond Springs Elementary School, the existing playground will be impacted by construction and will therefore be replaced with a new playground in winter of 2027. At Newtown Elementary School, the playground is not expected to be affected. However, looking at its anticipated service life, it still has several years on it, but we'll continue to monitor that as the project goes on to see if an earlier replacement time could be necessary. Parking for both sites has been reviewed to ensure compliance with applicable codes and operational requirements. And security, that remains one of our top priorities, both with safety during construction. Construction will be continually monitored by both the contractor and school division inspectors. Site preparation activities, including utility work, stormwater improvements, and construction mobilization, will begin again this summer, this month. Construction of the additions is expected to begin in late 2026 and continue through the 28 school year. Most interior classroom work will be scheduled during summer of 2027 to minimize disruption in the existing building. And throughout construction, the project team will coordinate closely with school administrators to reduce impacts on students, staff, and daily operations. So this means construction traffic will be restricted during student drop-off and pickup periods. Work will be phased to minimize interruptions to instructional activities. And exterior construction areas will be separated from occupied portions of the school. And also occupying noise mitigation measures will be implemented where appropriate. So in addition to the most disruptive construction activities will be scheduled during evenings, as we do with many of our other projects, weekends and school breaks, or other periods when students are not present whenever feasible. In terms of security, upon completion of the projects, both schools will receive upgraded security systems, including new interior and exterior cameras. Each school will continue to be supported by 2 security assistants, and a school resource officer will be assigned to the tri-campus zone as currently. And so our next slide here, as we conclude, I'd like to highlight several important next steps as we move from planning into implementation. We will be coming back with an update on the project after the beginning of the project this summer in September with our stakeholders. This will be important to understand any concerns arising from the first months of construction. One of the next milestones we're looking forward to is a groundbreaking ceremony anticipated for September, October 2026 to celebrate the project and the beginning of it. And communications will help us with this process to involve students from all 3 schools of the tri-campus, along with school administration, school board members, and city council representatives, and any other community stakeholders. As the tri-campus transitions from 3 schools to 2, it will also be timely to begin discussions regarding campus renaming and other transition-related planning. School Board Policy 3-74 would be reviewed to help with the renaming process and support related transition decisions. Campus renaming is planned to be a topic of discussion as early as July 2026 during the school board retreat. And then looking ahead again, the anticipated move-in date for the completed additions is August 2028. So again, throughout these milestones, communication will remain a key component of the project's success. We're committed to maintaining regular communication with administrators as we have during our planning phases. And we appreciate the partnership and collaboration that have brought us to this point, looking forward to continuing that engagement as the project moves forward. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Dr. Green?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, communication, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm sure the staff appreciated you and your team coming out. Thank you. Miss Dr. Hamlin, of course. And I'm sure you have alleviated a lot of anxiety. On that same note, Dr. Robertson, I appreciate the responses that were provided to the staff at Newtown who took their time to come out. And so hopefully everyone may not be happy, but at least they understand the process, which I think is more important as well. I have two questions, Ms. Ingram. When you were talking about Diamond Springs, and you don't need to go back to the slide, but there was a reference to room 43. What is that room currently being used as? Because you said it will be offline while we are under additions.
Yes, so room 43, it's currently used as a pre-K VPI.
Okay.
That's for this school year. We worked with the administrator, and there is room to be able to house that program in another room after the summer break for when the fall starts.
And then I would assume in Newtown, there was references also to some rooms that would come offline. What are we currently housing in those? And I know when we do construction to our schools that we allow for swing spaces in buildings that will not be disruptive to instruction.
Yes, and I'm actually looking at my sheet to see what's housed there. I believe they are grade level classrooms as well, and again, that will just be moving them around. Same thing, working with the administrator. We've already had the project manager talk about that with the administrator, and there's a plan to have those rooms available for the construction activities, again, at the start of the new school year.
All
at
right.
Newtown as well.
Thank you. And then the last item I have is just more of a comment. Madam Chair, I'm glad to see that on the retreat agenda, we are going to have the discussion about the naming of the campus, because as you can imagine, there is heightened anxiety in District 4 that we are going to lose that. And I did let our community know that we will be discussing it at retreat because it is important, I believe, that we maintain the legacy of Mrs. Williams. I had an opportunity to meet her great nephews at an event that was hosted by the administration at Williams. And I mean, she just made a major contribution to the education of many students in that community. Hence, because of her leadership, she ended up becoming the first African-American supervisor here in Virginia Beach Public Schools, which we know was no easy feat during that time in the 60s. So I hope we will be able to preserve her name somewhere on that campus.
Thank you. And before we go on to Ms. Rogers, it is my intention, once the board has that conversation at the retreat, that we would move pretty quickly on that naming, because with the groundbreaking taking place in September, October, I think it's appropriate to give the community that information prior to the groundbreaking. So that would be my goal.
Thank
Ms. Rogers?
Thank you. Thank you so much for your detailed presentation. I just have two quick questions because they were asked before, so I just wanted to get follow-up. Is I'm gonna ask it, the kitchen space is adequate enough for both schools for the students that will be coming in?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah,
Okay.
Yep, they meet DOE requirements as well.
Okay, that was a question that was asked previously by the educators that had come before us. And then another parent had asked me recently that what will happen to the students for PE and recess while there's construction going on the campus? Is that something that we have to modify, or is that going to be able to go forward based on the small area that's being worked on?
Absolutely. So there'll be construction entrances for construction equipment. So we'll have to make sure that students aren't crossing that traffic. And then there will be modified spaces, particularly at Diamond Springs Elementary School, because that will, the addition there is going to be impacting the playground specifically. So we'll just find another area at the school, on the north side of the school, for them to be able to have those activities. And then the same thing at Newtown Elementary School. Just work with administrators to make sure there's a safe area for them to cross any construction traffic that's not going on while the students are out there, but just want to make sure to maintain a safe environment.
Are we removing the playground at Diamond Springs to make that?
We will, so those will be removed, and then again, the hope is there might be some time where they're without a playground, but we're working as quickly as we can to see about locating again playgrounds on the north side of the school for the community.
And so I guess my next question would be then, are we removing a playground that needed to be replaced anyway?
Yes, it's at the end of its life cycle. It probably had about 2 or 3 years left, and as similar, Newtown had a little bit more life in theirs, but yes.
Okay. And are we removing at Newtown as well?
No, Newtown's, the playgrounds will not be impacted by the addition.
And so then just as a suggestion, since that's going to be an early childhood space and we're going to be housing a lot of pre-K classrooms, not all play spaces are approved for 4-year-olds, so that when we get the play space for them, that we get one that would be approved for our younger learners would be very helpful for the educators over there.
Thank you, yes.
Ms. Dwyer?
So, I don't even know if this ever has been done before, but as far as a playground, for special ed students, would there be any, equipment for them so they could use the playground as well, or does that require certain liability? I guess I could direct that toward Tammy. I don't know.
We do have playgrounds that are adapted for special ed, and that as they bring in the new playground, they do start incorporating some of the new designs that we use for students with special needs.
And we'll consider that. We have 2 separate types of playgrounds, to Ms. Rogers' questions as well. One for age 2 through 5, and then one for ages 5 to 12. And we've been installing both at our sites as our pre-K populations have been growing at our schools.
Thank you. I appreciate that question because there has been a lot of people in the community that have specifically asked for adaptive playgrounds that the community can access. So I would hope that maybe that's something we could do over there. So I guess when it comes to the playground, we don't really know how long that downtime's going to be.
Correct. What we have to do is ensure that we're able to start the additions and not build the playgrounds where there might be unsafe conditions. So we're working those processes out right now with phasing with the contractor. But we will get new playgrounds installed at Diamond Springs as soon as possible.
Okay, and I appreciate that. I mean, safety is paramount, but I also don't want to lose that outdoor playground time for those students. So hopefully we can get that up quickly. And can you correct me if I'm wrong? Does the city pay for half of our playground equipment on that replacement cycle?
We do cost participate with them. They recently, they had an infusion of ESSER money, so we are almost to an even level with them of paying for the 50-50, but we keep track of that between our offices and our budget departments.
Okay, thank you. And, I know there's a lot of concerns in the community, and I appreciate you communicating this out so that everybody is aware. I do think that this was a creative process. I think it was a good idea. I think it's getting an updated learning environment and it's saving a considerable amount while we're doing that so that we can move on to other CIP projects. So thank you. I appreciate all of your work.
Thank you.
We are now on to the consent agenda, and we are going to be voting on Citizens Advisory Committee appointment recommendations, the budget staff bonus plan, and Jewel Labs, Inc. settlement. Are there any objections to voting to the consent agenda as presented? Okay, seeing none, the motion is made by Dr. Green, seconded by Ms. Dwyer. I call for the vote to approve the consent agenda.
Madam Chair, can we read the budget resolution
We sure can.
before we vote? Thank you.
Vice Chair Weems.
The FY 2025-26 bonus resolution. Whereas Virginia Beach City Public School recognizes the dedication and continued service of its employees, and whereas the FY 2025-26 operating budget was adopted by the City Council on May 13th, 2025, and whereas the City of Virginia Beach's adopted budget ordinance appropriated funds to the School Board of the City of Virginia Beach, and whereas the budget amendments adopted by the 2026 General Assembly Conference budget for the 24 through 26 biennium affecting K through 12 public education includes a provision for one-time bonus payments to instructional and support positions in public education across the Commonwealth. And whereas Governor Spanberger signed the amended Virginia Caboose budget bill on February 20th, 2026, providing additional state funds to the School Board of the City of Virginia Beach in the amount of $6,111,795 with a local match of $4,243,741. Now therefore be it resolved that these funds will be used to provide a one-time retention bonus of $1,500 plus FICA to all full-time equivalent employees. Eligibility will be limited to employees whose employment with the school division continues beyond June 30th, 2026. And be it further resolved that employees who retire on or before June 30th, 2026, and who do not return to employment with the division shall not be eligible to receive the retention bonus. And be it further resolved that the School Board of the City of Virginia Beach approves and affirms the necessary recommended uses of these funds. And be it finally resolved that a copy of this resolution be spread across the official minutes of this board adopted by the School Board of the City of Virginia Beach this 8th day of June, 2026.
Okay. All right, I call for the vote to approve the consent agenda.
So, Madam Chair, we have 11 ayes. The motion did pass for the approval of the consent agenda.
Thank you. And very briefly, Dr. Robertson, could you share about how that bonus is going to roll out and who exactly would be eligible?
Yes, so the bonus will roll out in the June 30th paycheck. Thanks to the board's approval, we are going to be covering all of our full-time equivalent positions in instructional support areas. The state did not provide funding for that. For us to ensure that all of our employees are covered, the school board agreed to spend an additional approximately $6 million to, again, ensure that all personnel, beyond those that are funded by the SOQ, to receive the bonus payment of $1,500 for full-time, and then, of course, it'll be prorated if you're part-time. If you're a .8, it'll be $1,200. If you're 0.6, it'll be $900. If you're 0.5, it'll be $750. So, again, it's a further action by the board to demonstrate their appreciation to staff to the tune of about $16 million.
And I understand that there's a plan to make sure that all of that gets certified, so I just want to make sure that everybody is aware. All right, we are now on to the personnel administrative appointments, and I call for a motion to approve those. Motion made by Ms. Dwyer, seconded by Ms. Rogers. Any discussion? Seeing none, I call for the vote to approve the personnel report.
Mr. Culpepper, how do you vote? So, Madam Chair, we have 11 ayes. The motion to pass for the approval of the personnel report and administrative appointments.
Thank you. Dr. Robertson, do you have any administrative appointments?
Yes, I have the right list here. So we're pleased you've accepted our recommendation tonight for Heidi Kalma, currently an admin assistant at Providence Elementary School, to be the next assistant principal at Providence Elementary School. Next, we're pleased that you have accepted our recommendation for Kaylee Heath, currently an admin assistant at Bayside and SeaTac Elementary School, to be the next assistant principal at Lincoln Park Elementary School. Next, we have Simone Stallings, a former VTFT student. Yes, currently she's a Title I coordinator of curriculum and intervention in Department of Academic Support in Chesapeake Public Schools, but she's coming home to Virginia Beach to be an assistant principal at Strawbridge Elementary School. Next, we have Imani Mormon, currently admin assistant at VB Middle. We're pleased you've accepted our recommendation for her to be an next assistant principal at Bayside Middle School. Next, we have Dorothy Varala, currently an admin assistant at Ocean Lakes High School. We're pleased you've accepted our recommendation for her to be the next assistant principal at Princess Anne Middle School. Next up, we have Caitlin Riley, currently an assistant principal at Bayside High School, former state champion in Virginia Beach. We're pleased you've accepted our recommendation for her to be the next principal at First Colonial High School. And then finally, we have Teresa Jordan, currently a principal accountant in the Office of Business Services. We're thankful you've accepted our recommendation for her to be the next coordinator of accounting in the Office of Business Services. And thank you, Madam Chair. That concludes the appointments.
Great, thank you. We are now on to the Policy Review Committee recommendations, and there's a few things going on here.
Let me
so
see it start.
There we go.
I caused some confusion today by, if you look at what's published in your packet electronically, originally came out last week, that was the version we were working off of. After some discussion today, we realized we wanted to take out a line that was in paragraph D1 and D2. When I pulled that up, I used an old version of the policy. Did not realize that until about 6 o'clock tonight when we made a correction to it. So if you are online or you had the electronic package, that is the closest to what we wanted to do. We have since put out a new version of it. So let me see if I can clarify what it is. And this means I'm assuming you want this version, the correct version in here, and I will tell you what it reads. I'm just going to go ahead and read it to make it clear to everybody what this says. So we are on policy 618, which currently is in your packet, and it is instructional time, importance, and impact review. The recommendation for the Policy Review Committee was to add a Section D, and Section D would be called Technology Usage Guidelines. The school board recognizes the importance of digital literacy for students to be future ready, to preserve developmentally appropriate instructional time and minimize screen exposure, 1. Beginning in the 2026 school year, Chromebooks or similar devices shall not be utilized by students in pre-kindergarten through first grade classroom settings. This section does not apply to technology use specified in a student Section 504 plan, individualized education plan, and this is what we changed. We had comma or use for limited educational assessment. What is online would have added the phrase limited adaptive learning. We took that out after some discussion today, and we believe the phrase or use of limited educational assessment will cover the other types of programs that we think need to be handled. 2 would now read, beginning in the 2026 school year, students in grades 2 will maintain one-to-one Chromebooks or similar devices but cannot take Chromebooks or similar devices home. When schools are closed for severe weather events or other emergencies, grade 2 students may take Chromebooks or similar devices home. This section does not apply to technology use specified in a student Section 504 plan, comma, individualized education plan, comma, again, this was the change we made, or use for limited educational assessment. Paragraph 3, beginning in the 2026 school year, students in grades 3 through 5 will maintain one-to-one Chromebooks or similar devices and will be allowed to take such Chromebooks or similar devices home. Paragraph 4, God bless. The school board directs the superintendent or designee to provide an annual report and presentation on student screen time. This report shall include data disaggregated by grade level, trends over time across grade levels, and any plans to mitigate screen time. And then there is a reference in the legal reference, we've added section 22.98 of the Code of Virginia in there. So again, the correction from what was last week to what we're putting this week is removal in paragraph 2 or 3 of the final clause that had limited adaptive learning.
Okay, so to be fair, I want to make sure that we get the motion on the floor that was in the packet. The problem is the one that was up here on the dais was not the same as what was in the packet or what we reviewed last week. So I'm going to ask that we put a motion on the floor for the original. Vice Chair Weems, you can make your amendment. Mr. Cummings, I understand that you also have an amendment or a substitute. I'm not sure which one it is, but that'll make sure that everybody can have their opportunity to do what they're trying to do. So, motion to put the original on the floor is made by Vice Chair Weems, seconded by Mr. Culpepper. Vice Chair Weems, if you would make your amendment, and then.
Chair, can we have a point of order, just real quick
Sure.
on clarification on the total number of votes? Since we're doing amendments day of, does that require a supermajority?
No,
I'm trying
the
to,
policy is already on the floor. It's an amendment.
yeah. I was just
It
trying to,
takes a supermajority if the policy is not already on the floor.
if it's not already on the floor? Okay. I was just trying to read the policy and understand. Thank you.
Okay, so the original that's in the packet, which is not the initial one that was sitting up here, I don't know how that occurred exactly, but, is on the floor. Vice Chair Williams, will you please make your amendment? That way we can still have additional motions.
Yes, I move to accept the policy 618 as read by our attorney with the amendment of leaving off the adaptive learning at the end of 1 and 2. But it's to pass I move to accept the policy as read by our attorney.
It would be amending
that's
what?
amended
With the
as
amended
read.
one. Yes,
Okay.
amended as read.
All
That
right.
is amended.
Motion for the amendment made by Vice Chair Weems. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Culpepper. Oh, okay. All right. Any discussion? And so we're going to vote on the amendment first. And then, so that's what we're discussing. All right, Mr. Cummings?
I'm just making sure I understand everything correctly from how we're gonna roll out. So we're voting on the amendment, and then it's gonna come back, and I get to add maybe my amendment, correct?
Yes, because it's not a substitute, which is why I asked her to make sure it was an amendment.
Okay. No, that's fair.
Because I saw yours in the email when I sat down, so
Mm,
just
yep,
want to make sure that we get to everybody.
yep, that's fine.
Okay. Vice Chair Weems.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a couple comments. The concerns of age appropriate and overuse of screens has been, talked about and discussed locally and nationally. And the PRC was tasked with looking at this for our earlier learners, but as many of us have vocalized, we want to also look at our middle school and high schoolers at usage at a later date as well. There's been a lot of discussion, data, reviews. There's been a lot of changes, a lot of input, a lot of tweaks. I think this policy is was done under careful consideration, cautious changes, and a lot of collaboration and compromise. Mr. Bowenstiel and Ms. Felton and I kind of agreed at policy review committees that none of us got exactly what we wanted, but we felt that this was a very good start and something that staff staff told us over and over again that they appreciated the work that we did and that it was very doable. And again, it is not one and done. This conversation is going to go on. I think for quite a while, so I look forward to that. But I want to just thank Mr. Bonesteel and Ms. Felton and also staff for your patience and your willingness to debate and in a nice, respectful way and to tweak and make changes and to compromise. But I think, personally, I think this is what's best for our kids. The data is pretty overwhelming, and I think this is, this will benefit our students. Thank you very much.
So I'm going to ask that we focus our comments to the amendment. So if it's about the amendment, because we'll have comments about the policy after the amendment. Ms. Rogers. All right. So we are going to be voting on the amendment, and that is to remove the language
Adaptive learning.
or other adaptive learning needs from section 1 and the end of section 2. Okay. Mr. Cummings?
Where did we say that the ESL software fell into in these buckets? Was that
Limited educational assessment.
And that's the software that reads to kids in their native tongue?
I would need to direct that to Mr. Delaney.
Yeah.
No, you're referencing access testing is not reading it in their native tongue, and
Mhm.
access testing the younger learners is done one-to-one.
Mm-hmm.
There's a digital component that's done in the later grades that would be done as an educational assessment.
Yeah, so I remember being.
So it would fall into that, the question of access testing is a limited educational assessment.
Yeah, I remember being in a first grade classroom where I saw and observed a student receiving the instruction in Spanish. And so would that avenue not be available anymore based on if we're taking off the adaptive learning aspect?
The way the policy is written right now, unless it was part of a plan, the students would only use the devices in kindergarten and first grade if it was part of a limited educational assessment.
So like a test, but not for the curriculum, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that can potentially impact our immersion program. Okay. Would that potentially impact our immersion programs where we have?
I would not want to speak for Dr. Wilkerson,
Okay.
or so Mr. Delaney, please let me know. The curriculum that they're using is part of the curriculum, so they have hands-on activities just like we do, especially in kindergarten and first grade.
I was impressed by that aspect with, students who are new language learners being able to have curriculum in their native tongue to help them bridge the gap between their education in English. It seemed like it was working, so I'd be disappointed if that tool is taken away from our students.
I'm sorry, I'm a little bit confused because Vice Chair Weems before the meeting asked if that English language, that was actually the initial modification, was to specify English language learners. And she was told that that was not necessary and to just take out or other adaptive learning needs. So I'm a little bit confused right now about that. Can anyone clarify? Because I do think our English language learners have special programs that they may need.
I can't speak to that piece. I know that Ms. Weems and Mr. Delaney had a conversation as to this. I simply drafted with those. I'm not sure what the actual program is and what it qualifies. It might need to go over to DTAL to speak to that.
Okay. Mr. Culpepper.
Sorry, I'm just trying to cut to the chase here. The intent of how we wanted to write this was to include the ESL requirement to allow usage, right? So I guess the question is, how do we write that? Because we thought we were making an amendment to write that in and make it clear that that was the point and not something else, right? Sorry, am I making it worse? The look on your face says yes.
Vice Chair Williams.
Yes, I did not have the conversation today. I had the conversation with Mr. Delaney about how to word it so that our English language learners would be covered, because I didn't know exactly, specifically. And so I was told that that staff thought that the adaptive learning part did not necessarily need to be in there. But if that, I agree, how do we make sure that this is available for our English language learners? And if we need to put the adaptive learning, keep it in there, if that covers it, I'm fine with that. Because that was the whole intent, yeah.
Yeah, and here was the challenge with the adaptive learning was Lexia and Imagine Math are adaptive learning programs. So we felt like that would cause some confusion.
Right, the confusion
for
part,
folks
yes.
to say, well, you've now said we can use Lexia and Imagine Math.
Right, and that
And
was
we
our
were concerned
conversation,
that
yeah.
would create any level of a lack of transparency, that we were not looking to
Right.
move through that.
Okay.
On the ELL end, we can find language to add that specifically targets that and changes that language that also, in my mind, caused more confusion.
Right, so if we could, Ms.
This means
Linetti,
what,
the English, the ELL.
what if you were to, and I'm just gonna brainstorm while we're here, you see how you have students, section 504 plan, individualized education plan, maybe there's another phrase, an English language or ELL, learners plan, I'm not sure what they call it, a plan.
Yeah, or use for limited educational assessment or ELL, English language learners. Yeah, so.
I think it would read better after, and I'm not sure if I'm using the right language here, but individualized education plan, comma, ELL services, or ELL services, and then comma, or, I don't want to confuse it with limited educational assessment.
Point of order, please. Can we send this back to PRC so we can fix it?
That's not a point of order. She's talking about her amendment. That would be a separate motion.
Yes, I would like to withdraw my amendment and add, the ELL services.
I think once it's at discussion, the whole board
Okay.
has to vote
Okay.
to pull back the amendment. Or you could do another substitute, I guess, or not substitute, another amendment to add a phrase that covers that. Or they withdraw the whole thing, go back to the way it was originally in the electronic version, which was the adaptive learning.
I think what she's asking is to
what you
modify
call it?
her amendment to include what was the original and instead say adaptive learning needs for English language learners in both of those sections.
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking, Vice Chair
Yes, to
Williams?
keep the original and add for English language learners.
Mr. Culpepper, do you second that change?
So
we're just
checking on the language.
The language. I don't know if we'd be, like I said, I wouldn't want to speak for Dr. Wilkerson. I'm not sure if we would be able to say that it was part of the language plan that they have. So how we would have to write it, we would need to put in there that in student section 504 plan, individualized education plan, or in support of English language learners, something more. But I agree with, I just want to say, Mr. Delaney, I do think that causes a little bit of confusion if we added that in there, because students currently use, English language learners use Google Translate in the classroom. They have access to hear several different things in a different language. So that would cause, that is a little bit of a change if we add that in here. But of course, we would do it for the will of the board. So as long as you guys guide us in how this would be written, that's where the confusion would come in. And if that's why we were trying to make it really clean.
Okay, so Ms. Linetti, Vice Chair Williams has asked to modify her motion. Mr. Culpepper has seconded that. Does the board vote on that?
Yes, because you're having another motion on there.
Okay. All right. So.
And I
Ms.
think what I wrote down that Dr. Kelly said would be that you would add a phrase after individualized education plan it would be comma in support of English language learners, and then it would pick up with or limited educational assessment. So there would be the addition of the phrase in support of English language learners.
I'm very confused.
Same.
So, I'm gonna let Ms. Melnick talk And I don't know, maybe you can read the whole thing
Yes.
at some point, but Ms. Melnick, about removing or modifying the motion.
Well, you went too far in the conversation. I had my hand raised, but where do the kindergarten and first grade SOLs fit into this? Where those students will be able to meet the standards set by the state? Where does that fit into this? At some point, they're gonna have to do something to meet those state standards.
I'm going to turn that into detail to Mr. Delaney.
Dr. Goldberg and I have talked about this. When you say standards of learning, there are the computer science standards of learning, and then there are the English language arts standards of learning that we've worked through. Several of the language arts research standards that we've been talking about are the research standards, like listening to several different texts in a variety of forms, which we are addressing through some of the programs that we're putting in, like listening centers. There is access to devices that, dictionaries that could be digital, and we've addressed that as well for kindergarten. So as far as the English language arts objectives, we've got that covered. It's the computer science standards that we have to work through with the classroom teacher and the instructional technology specialist, and Dr. Goldberg could speak more about the instructional technology support for the computer science standards.
Ms. Melnick, one of the main reasons we wanted to add in the classroom to that policy was it allowed for things like research to then take place online in the Library Media Center for things like the research standards and the computer science standards. As we went through this process, that was one reason we wanted to ensure that ability to do so in another location.
So, you know, this is very confusing to teachers. This is very confusing to families. When we were minimally using these in the classroom. And so, as we're muddling through this, technically, these are not guidelines. Guidelines give teachers direction as far as, you know, hey, we're cutting down, you have this type of minutes a day, and this is what we expect you to follow, and in these are our guidelines, but the complete elimination of this is not a guideline. And this is becoming very difficult. We're talking about they can't do this, but some kids can do this, and some kids can do this, but some kids can't. And now you're going to be pointing out children who have IEPs and 504s, just a big mark right over them. Okay, well, okay, here are our special ed students because they have it in their special. That's not the way, this isn't the way that's supposed to work. And now we're going to hear from parents that this was 20 minutes a day. And this has morphed into something that is so confusing for families. And it just highlights certain groups of students. Like, this is just not right. I'm very confused by this. And if I'm confused by this, I can only imagine what this means for our families and for the teachers. This is not education. I'll talk about that when it's time to talk about this, but this is very confusing, not well organized, not well planned, and this is definitely not going to be well executed. This needs a lot more work.
Okay. So, right now, there is, Vice Chair Williams had a substitute, not a substitute, an amendment on the floor. She has requested to amend her amendment. Mr. Culpepper seconded her request to amend that amendment. And right now, we need to vote on whether or not we're going to allow her to amend her amendment because we already debated it. So, that's what we're at right now. I don't know what we're voting on. We are voting on whether or not Vice Chair Weems requests to amend her amendment, to change her amendment, instead of it saying no or adaptive learning needs, to add for English language learners. So it will read, limited educational assessment or adaptive learning needs for English language learners in section 1 and 2. So we're just right now voting on whether or not she's going to be allowed to amend her amendment. Then we will vote on the amendment. So I'm going to call for the vote to allow that amended amendment.
Yours not working.
Okay, so Madam Chair, we have 6 ayes and 5 nays.
Okay. Now we are on to the amendment, which reads, and I'm just going to read the whole sentence so that there's no confusion. Section 1 will say, this section does not apply to technology uses specified in a student's 504, Section 504 plan, individualized education plan, or use for limited educational assessments or other adaptive learning needs for English language learners. And Section 2 will say, this section does not apply to technology use specified in a student Section 504 individualized educational plan or use for limited educational assessment or other adaptive learning needs for English language learners. Okay. Ms. Melnick.
So parents should be able to go on and look at our policies and understand what they say. I don't understand what this says. I'm an educator. I do not understand what this says. In addition, I would imagine that if a parent wants their child to be able to have the access to programs that Virginia Beach City Public Schools has paid for and know that can help their students, their children, whether that's through remediation efforts or for whatever else, can they request that their child be able to use these programs? If I'm a parent of a first grader and I know my child is struggling in language arts and I see and understand the benefits of Lexia, and there are special education students and students with 504s that are getting these programs, which the teachers love. We've heard from a lot of them. Can I request that my child be able to use these programs during a 20-minute rotation in a first grade classroom or a kindergarten classroom? Because parents can opt their kids out of the library.
This policy applies to Chromebook use. So you're asking, can they get a special license to use
No.
that program where they're using their Chromebook to
Are we getting rid of
active-
Lexia? Will Lexia go away with the elimination of this in K and 1? Seriously? And so then what about, you mean nobody's going to benefit from the remediation and the targeted, well, I did not know this, that Lexia was going away. We're talking about, well, let me read this, because I thought that this is what this meant. This section does not apply to technology use specified in a student's Section 504 IEP or use for limited educational assessment. Now you're saying that Lexia is going to go away. So now we can't even use Lexia or Pebble Go or any of these other things, even in a library setting?
I'm going to let Dr. Kelly give you the full details on Lexia. PebbleGo is still able to be used in the library setting. Lexia is a little bit different in terms of what the pre-assessment and how it's adjusted for instructional purposes on that end. So I'll let Dr. Kelly kind of give the depth of why K through 1 Lexia would be a challenge to continue on if we're no longer one-to-one in that environment.
Yes, correct. And we've shared this through the conversations about, we wanted to make sure that our teachers have the resources that they need in this transition. But when you're looking at Lexia, it is done during that independent time. So in kindergarten and first grade, it would take the assessment times to do the program at the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, the end of the year. But the most important time is that instruction during the day. And that's the part that they would not be able to do without the devices in the classroom rotating throughout the day. And between Imagine Math and Lexia, the independent time, as you guys were saying, it's a very limited time that they were on the computers. And they would then add independent station during those times. And that's where we were talking about the other resources that we needed, like listening centers, things that students were doing through the Chromebooks during that time. In kindergarten, they would have access to listening centers so they could still hear the text, but they would not be leaving the classroom, going down to a separate location to use the device without the teachers or others in that area for that small independent time.
So, but for a program like Lexia, it sends the teacher data straight away. So a child is working on Lexia during their 20 minutes on their Chromebook.
Yes.
And that lets the teacher know how that child was performing with specific.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. That's so valuable. I will never forget old school prep for teaching first grade and the games that I made and the matching and the this and the putting words together and the compound words, things that I could not assess when I was working with a group one-on-one. So now I don't know if a child if they were successfully completing anything at that 20 minutes when they're sitting by themselves. Yet for that 20 minutes, the insight a teacher gains from that one program, and every single teacher has mentioned this program, and the absolute, it's magic for a teacher, and it allows a teacher to be able to differentiate the next time they meet with that child, or to pull that child aside and do something one-on-one. This was 20 minutes a day, and I have so much more to say, and I'm going to say it, but what are we doing? This is so confusing. Wouldn't it be easier if we say, first grade teachers, you get 20 minutes a day. It's all a child can have. And sometimes, you might even skip a day. They might not even get that 20 minutes. But wouldn't it be easier to have a parent be able to opt out and say, I don't want my child touching a Chromebook during the day? Because this is so unfair to so many children. It really is. It's so unfair to the students who could really benefit from this. There's a teacher named Rebecca that sent us an email. Go into her classroom, see what she does. She's amazing. Look her up. Scroll down. And then two other things I want to say for this one. It was just mentioned, this conversation is going to go on. There are people on this board who want technology to disappear K-12. That's the conversation that's going to continue. We had someone tonight say, through middle school, that's a conversation members of this school board want to have. We are going backwards. And honestly, I don't know if I would want to teach in this division, quite frankly. This is the creme de la creme of school divisions. And we're going backwards for 20 minutes a day. I will say it again. Screen time usage, the misuse of screen time, is not occurring 20 minutes a day in a first grade classroom. It is occurring outside of our schools. My kids didn't get cell phones until 8th grade. But I can tell you, two of my nieces, actually 3, had them in first grade, cell phones. That's a parent problem. But we are doing our district, our students in this district, a great disservice. And I'm very worried about students being identified in ways. Kids are going to figure that out. And I'm worried about the resources our teachers are going to use, that are going to lose, to help their students. They've talked to us. 80% of the teachers responded to that survey. 13% of the parents did. Over 80% of those. I'll speak again later.
Ms. Rogers?
Thank
So
you.
we're on the amendment.
Dr. Robertson, I just have a quick question for you. Was cost associated with these replacements been discussed at all?
What do you mean costs associated? Like?
With having to replace Lexia with whatever we're replacing it with and all of those things? Was the cost?
Yes. Well, we've looked at what we would be replacing these with.
Right,
There is a
but-
cost associated with it,
Right,
yes.
and we have not been informed, correct?
We have not shared the costs associated with you, no.
Okay, so that was my big question. I wanted to actually highlight what the president of VBEA said this evening, is that this should not be rushed. We can see by what has just happened on the dais, what happens when we rush things. I am a huge proponent of early childhood education, of ensuring our students have decreased screen time and ensuring that they do not have unfettered access to screens at home. I agree with all of that. What I do not agree with is governing in a way that is going to inadvertently hurt staff and students, and I don't believe we are doing this with care and caution. We haven't listened to our educators, we've listened to parents, we've listened to our own thought, but our educators have done so much work in being trained in all of the curriculum that they have been trained in already. And I agree with decreasing screen time. Our students should not be on screen time. However, we also have a responsibility to the Department of Education to ensure that we are meeting the standards that they've set out for us. If we're not going to do that with fidelity, then what are we doing here? So I won't be able to support this due to the fact that it has not been done with caution and care. Thank you.
Mr. Cummings?
I'm lost at where we're at. So where are we at on this? Are
We
we
are voting on
To
whether or
accept
not
her-
we're going to incorporate the amendment
into the agenda, but not
into
voting
the policy.
into the policy? So I still don't set my amendment yet.
Yeah, we needed to clear this amendment.
So there's an issue here, maybe, and I'm trying to understand, is that our appendix bylaw, Appendix A 1-6 says something about not more than one amendment to an amendment shall be entertained. Ms. Linnetti, does that mean I can't submit my motion to amend?
That is probably going to be wrong if we're putting it as an amendment. Yes, you've got, because this is your second amendment to an amendment.
Are you seriously? That was on purpose.
I don't think so. But I'm just going to say, I don't think we understood that with the
And
adaptive
you could
learning
still
piece
make
of
a
it.
substitute, correct?
Yeah, you might want to
Yeah,
substitute a
you can
motion.
make a substitute.
Mike, not if it's called an amendment.
Well, it only requires a majority of the board to deviate.
So I can submit a substitute motion, but, okay, all right.
Ms. Linnetti, is that correct? You can do a substitute once we vote on the amendment?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Call for the vote to approve Ms. Weems' amendment of her four words to Section 1 for English language learners and Section 2 for English language learners at the end. Call for the vote to approve the amendment.
So, Madam Chair, we have 6 ayes and 5 nays, so that motion did pass.
Thank you. Mr. Cummings, will you make your substitute?
Well, my neighbor says I could just do a motion to amend.
Ms. Linnetti?
I think your problem is you've got two amendments, but it's an amendment to an amendment, so.
Well, we didn't have two amendments. She modified her amendment. There was one amendment. But Can't you just make a substitute motion?
It might be cleaner to make the substitute motion, and I think you're substituting the beginning language in paragraph 1.
So you can go ahead and make your substitute.
All right, so the school board, I want to make a motion for a substitute motion. And do I need to read the whole entire thing in its longevity?
Do you want me to do it for you? Because I can do it faster than anybody else.
Do you have my text, Amy?
I do.
Okay, thank
And
you.
let's see. I believe what you would be substituting motion would be section D, which would be technology usage guidelines, which would read the school board recognizes the importance of digital literacy for students to be future ready, to preserve developmentally appropriate instructional time and minimize screen exposure. Paragraph 1, beginning in the 2026-27 school year, Chromebooks or similar devices shall not be utilized by students in pre-kindergarten through kindergarten classroom settings. In first grade classroom settings, device utilization shall be limited to a maximum of 10 issued devices per classroom. This section does not apply to technology as specified in the student section 504 plan, individualized education plan, or used for limited educational assessment or otherwise other adaptive learning needs for English language learners. 2, beginning the 2026-27 school year, students in grades 2 will remain one-to-one Chromebooks or similar devices but cannot take Chromebooks or similar devices home. When schools are closed for severe weather events or other emergencies, grade 2 students may take Chromebooks or similar devices home. This section does not apply to technology use specified in the student's section 504 plan, individualized education plan, or used for limited educational assessment or other adaptive learning needs for English language learners. 3, beginning the 2026-27 school year, students in grades 3 through 5 will maintain one-to-one Chromebooks or similar devices and will be allowed to take such Chromebooks or similar devices home. And 4, the school board directs the superintendent or designee to provide an annual report and presentation on student screen time. This report shall include data disaggregated by grade level, trends over time across grade levels, and any plans to mitigate screen time. And under legal references, we would add the reference Code of Virginia, section 22.198 as amended, reduction of state aid when length of school term below 180 days or 990 hours. And then that would be the full amendments. The rest would remain the same.
Is there a second to that substitute motion? Ms. Rogers. Okay. Discussion on the substitute motion, and before we get into the discussion, if the substitute passes, that will be the end of the conversation about this. So, Ms. Melnick.
So in looking at this substitute motion, the kindergarten instructional impact, I don't see that the impact is low for parents by removing communication with Seesaw and visibility of student learning. And one of the compelling arguments came from a teacher tonight talking about the communication with parents who are deployed, and I thought that was important. I'm a military child. I'm sure my father would have loved that if we had been technologically savvy back in the 70s. I got numbered letters from my dad, so I didn't open them out of order. Now parents can, you smile, you know, right? Now parents have just real access to their child's learning. They can see it in real time. I mean, I know there are probably parents in here who have had their kids in daycare, and the daycares send out pictures and they send out images of their work, and we get those. Parents get those in the middle of the day, and they're just so happy and proud of their kid, and they get to see their development. On top of the fact that not every parent either does or can come to a parent-teacher conference. There are lots of parents that don't come to parent-teacher conferences. But this is still a way for a parent to know what their child is doing on a daily basis.
Ms. Meldy, teacher still has access to Seesaw to send to a parent as a communication tool.
Well, that's great. Let's just add that to a teacher
Well,
with 26.
I wanted to
When a
share
kid
that
could
it's
do it.
not gone away. The parent
Yeah.
could still receive video of the student that's been filmed by the teacher.
I get
want to
that.
make sure we didn't know it was going away
do.
completely. So I'm sorry
But-
for interrupting.
No,
but I
no, no.
appreciate
I'm
it.
glad you did. I'm glad that that will still be there, but it's different. And again, I'm struggling with the complete elimination of some things that are really good for our students. So I remember hearing from a parent, and she talked about her child bringing the Chromebook home, and it just became such an issue because the child wanted to continue to play with this computer. That's going to eliminate all of that. There isn't good, not, the kids can't bring them home. That piece is gone. This is an educational tool. It's an educational tool for 20 minutes a day. And here's my fear. I'm going to say this again. So, Mr. Cummings, I struggle with some of this, and I don't want to take the time to pick this all apart. Some of it is fine. But I just want to say, August 1990, whole language, teaching to the middle. That's what we were taught by Virginia Beach City Public Schools. Whole language. It was a massive debacle because Virginia Beach City Public Schools reacted to a pendulum swing. And in education, it's good to keep it like this. And that's where I feel we are. I look at this as a pendulum swing so far that it's really going to be detrimental to this school division the way whole language was back in 1990 when we were told, don't differentiate. We're going to teach to the middle. The children who are up here, they're going to help the ones down here, and the ones down here are actually going to just kind of rise to the middle. And none of that happened. And we were told, everything you learned in college, forget about it. We've got the answer. It's going to be great. It was a pendulum swing. I appreciate all of this, and if you could remove some of it, but this is too much for 20 minutes a day. I'm afraid of the loss. And I'm okay with parents opting their kids out. That's it for right now, but I will speak again. Mr. Cummings.
Yeah, thank you. I presented this substitute motion because, my viewpoint has changed a little bit over the time that I've sat up here on the dais. And if you remember a few months ago or weeks ago, whenever we talked about classroom sets, I had a little bit of apprehension because I didn't really see a point. But, after receiving quite a few emails from folks and whatnot, I'm willing to compromise, a little bit of my position as well. I really do see value in our students, specifically in Lexia and Imagine Math and some of the Pebble research projects. And so I thought that this was a good compromise between a lot of the diverse viewpoints on the school board. I originally sent a substitute motion to our vice chair who sits on the PRC and sent it to some other folks, and I appreciate the conversation that we had. And I know that no folks are going to sit up here and agree 100% on anything, and so I'm going to ask my colleagues, I know that there's been some compromise to the policy, but I'm personally think I do see value in the personalization of programs where you're able to teach a kid at the same time. Someone who has advanced reading skills, they get advanced targeting. Someone who needs more support, they get more supportive reading. When you think about scaling delivery of our product, it's difficult to do. Times have changed, and I think that there's value within this program that we've seen. I don't think there's value in a lot of things, and that's part of why on the audit committee I did, ask for about our software utilization. I'm also committed to looking at K through 5 and take-home devices and seeing if there's further rollout upstream that we can do with that. And I'm really hoping that we can continue to increase our parent engagement with both screen time, but how to check kids securely as well. I talk to a lot of parents who don't even realize that they can look at their kids' internet browsing. And I think that's a very important conversation that we need to start driving home, is educating our parents to be more proactive in the job that they do. Now, the other aspect of my comment that I want to make is that we've heard a lot from our teachers and our educators come here today and share about the value that they have with these programs within the classroom. And I really strongly believe we make good decisions when we hear from stakeholders who say too much technology, but also here's how technology is utilized. And somewhere in the middle, you try to figure out what is a good policy. And it's a little painful for me to hear and to see the data where we see so much benefit from what they're describing in some of these tools. And so, on one hand, we're saying, you all do great work, here's your raise, you're fantastic, but your opinions on how it should be delivered, that's a little difficult for me to, at times, to really fully understand. And then, I reached out to my district via Facebook, and I'll submit anything for FOIA requests and things like that in the different civic leagues. And I really didn't get a lot of pushback. I really don't see a strong parental push for some of these specifics. Our internal data, or our data that we had a presentation on, I went through and counted, how many people specifically recalled for Chromebooks being removed, and I counted about 1 out of every 6 for each grade. Like I said last time, I didn't peer review, double check, so it's not going to be published, but that's about bean counting the best I could with responses at scale. School board wise, I feel like we've had 5 speakers over the last couple of weeks who spoke out against Chromebooks. We received email wise, I think probably it's been about half and half about, those who are pro and those who are against. And really, we didn't see a lot of, from my perspective, calling for this specific policy. And so I think if I was receiving email after email after email, or if everybody in my civic league groups was like, Matt, this is bad, get them out. I think most people understand moderation, and most people understand that in K through 1, K through 2, that we're doing a good job. Now, a lot of folks had interesting comments about middle school, and I know that we're going to have a future conversation on that, which I look forward to. But I do think that this is a good compromise between a lot of the different thoughts on the board, and will allow some of our ed tech, our great software, but also will significantly reduce some of the screen time issues. So I ask my colleagues to support my motion.
Dr. Green?
Thank you. Mr. Cummins, I do plan to support your motion compromise, because at this point, I think this is where we're at. And it's probably, unfortunately, not that it's bad, but this is as good as it's going to get, given our composition. So first of all, I would like to say, I do support the piece with our preschool. But what concerns me, and I had asked last week about the possibility of us doing some type of curriculum audit, because we cite all these wonderful studies from around the world, and here we have the great Dr. Lisa Bannicky leading our Department of Research, Planning, and Assessment. So why not get homegrown data to support or see what really is going on? There's an agenda to the agenda. I suspect the agenda, I don't know this is just Alvida's opinion only, that is to bring everything to a screeching halt division-wide with our students for technology, which is just so wrong. And I think we can find a balance. So why not collect data? And you can start with, I'm the researcher. I've done research. So we could start with a cohort, meaning depending on what happens tonight, it can be the students that we track all the way to what I would love to see is what it looks like in third grade when they take those SOL assessments, because those are still online unless something has changed. Is that correct? Are they still online? Okay. And I think what scares me with that is the digital literacy portion. So we have to find a balance. Come on, folks. We have to find a balance. And I think our data, and Dr. Bannicky knows, I've been a part of many of a 3-year study with her. And she will give you the true picture of what it looks like, what it impacts. You will have local data, not data from California or Kalamazoo. And I think that is so important. And then you can make further decisions that, okay, well, it looks like we need to pull the plug in third grade or whatever. You will have homegrown data. Yes, it takes time. I've done the research. It takes time, yes. A good research study takes at least 3 years. And I think we're doing ourselves and our community a disservice if we don't.
Ms. Milnick?
So I'll agree with you. I'm certified pre-K. I taught first grade for 17 years, so I'm okay. I'll compromise there. But I too think this is a great disservice, and I really struggle with this. I think most of all, I struggle hearing people stand at the podium, or here on the dais and talk about pencils and crayons and writing, when these kids write every single day. They're writing. There is no substitute for writing. And let me make one thing very clear. Mr. Green Run grad right here, I'm a Green Run grad. Listen, I'm friends with some Green Run grads on Facebook whose spelling is atrocious. So I don't want to go back to the 80s or the 70s. There are bad spellers everywhere. Every generation, there are bad spellers. There are bad readers. My boys hate to read. My husband graduated from the University of Notre Dame. God, I know he's listening. And he hates to read. I don't know the last time George Melnick read a book. And he is smart. And he runs a multi-million-dollar corporation. He's smart. But he does not like to read. Every generation complains about the next generation. But please, please, find a way to compromise so that we are not hurting this generation. Computers are not going away. They're not going away. And we also can't go back to 1950. We have to find a way to make this work, and we have to do right by all children. And there will be children who will be harmed by this. Whether you believe it or not, there are children who will be harmed by this. It's 20 minutes. Find a way to compromise, please. Because I'm telling you, and the public needs to listen, and I will put it out there, there are people on this board that want to remove technology K-12.
Mr. Cowan?
I don't know if that's an accurate assessment, but it's an assumption. This has been a difficult discussion, not only tonight, but for several weeks and months now. There have been sides, or there have been presentations representing both sides that have been impressive, informative, challenging, and thought-provoking. There is no correct spot on the map to land on this. However, as this meeting has unfolded tonight, I couldn't help but thinking that as we ran into the English language learner issue and trying to figure out how to word it on the fly, it just struck me as the original proposal and amendment, if that's the right terminology, was not ready for prime time. I usually like to receive an alternative consideration in advance so I can slowly chew on it. But as I look through what Mr. Cummings has presented, my desire is no Chromebooks K through 1. Actually, it was K through 2, but I was willing to compromise on that as well. In light of where we are and what we're confronted with, and Mr. Cummings' motion to do no Chromebooks pre-K through K, and a limitation on the number of issues made available per classroom, I'm going to support his amendment. And I just wanted to express my opinion as to the whys. And if that means we need to go back to the Policy Review Committee in order to get this ready for prime time, as much as I don't like to do that because this particular subject matter has been discussed and examined at length by many of the members of that Policy Review Committee. I understand that, I respect their positions, and I respect the very difficult work they've engaged in. But I have to ask myself in my gut, is this ready? Is the original amendment now, in light of the English language challenge that we were confronted with, is it ready for delivery? And I can only tell you my gut tells me no, it's not. So I just wanted to state my position for the benefit of the board members.
All right, thank you. I've been waiting to weigh in for a very long time. And the only thing that's different, in my opinion, from Mr. Cummings' motion, besides the 10 devices for first grade, that is the main difference, and then they aren't going home. Is that my understanding correct, Mr. Cummings?
Yeah, that's the main difference.
Because the language regarding or other adaptive learning needs for English language learners is the same as it is in the original now, except this one goes a little bit further. So I will not be able to support it because I already feel like compromise has been made by the members of the PRC. Conversation has gone on. And for the English language learners, language is identical. And so that problem has already been rectified with those 4 words in this motion and in Mr. Cummings' motion. Vice Chair Williams.
Yes, so Mr. Cummings and yours, they do not go home at all pre-K through 5th grade, is that correct?
No, so
What is it again?
no, the only
In front of me.
I only made a change to D.
I'm sorry.
I only made a change to
To D1, the
D1.
first, there's two sentences. Well, actually, the first sentence remains the same, and then you would add a second sentence. In first grade classroom settings, device utilization shall be limited to a maximum of 10 issued devices per classroom.
I did not put the one that I emailed you, I didn't make as a substitute.
Okay, so you're.
Sorry if I didn't
okay.
understand your question, Chair Brown.
Okay, so can you repeat your substitute motion, please?
It appears that the only difference from what you've had, it would be beginning in the 2026-27 school year, Chromebooks or similar devices shall not be utilized by students in pre-kindergarten through first grade classroom settings. That remains the same. And then Mr. Cummings was adding the sentence after that, in first grade classroom settings, device utilization shall be limited to a maximum of 10 issued devices per classroom. And then we would pick up with the other sentence about the exceptions for IEPs and 504 plans.
So the first sentence says they will not be utilized, but the second sentence says they will with 10 per classroom. Is that?
So you can't take it out. Yeah, you can't take it out. Okay. It's in-
Can you read the first sentence again, please?
I'm sorry. It would read, sorry, beginning in the 2026-27 school year, Chromebooks or other similar devices shall not be utilized by students in pre-kindergarten through kindergarten classrooms. Sorry, that's how it should read.
Okay.
And in first grade classroom setting, device utilization shall be limited to a maximum of 10 issued devices per classroom. So you would take out the first sentence as written in the online version, substitute it with that sentence, and you would add the new sentence, which is in first grade classroom settings, device utilization shall be limited to a maximum of 10 issued devices per classroom.
So this substitute motion also includes for English language learners. But the difference is this substitute motion is saying that we're going to have a set for first grade. So they both include for English language learners. I just wanted to clarify that because there seems to be some confusion. So they say they both include that. Mr. Cummings will have a classroom set, whereas the other one does not. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Felton?
Thank you, Chair Brown. I'd like to walk along with my colleague, Mr. Callen, who spoke about this policy maybe not being ready for prime time. Yes, I do sit on the PRC policy committee as well. And Ms. Milnick, you made a good point. I hope to God we don't go back to 1950 because public education is only 72 years old. 1954. That's when public education was allowed to all students. So I hope to God we do not step back and go that far back and keep our focus. I also like to say that prime time means a lot. And what is confusing now, it took us 4 meetings, I believe, to get to this point to where we are. And there were a lot of discussions. And in one of our meetings, our chair, I don't want maybe verbatim, but our chair, Ms. Weems, said, this is a concern that should not be rushed because of the implication of who it will affect. And throughout getting this policy together, I've had a lot of heartburn because I felt that the pillows, the expertise, the professionals in the classroom spoke well in the survey. And when I read the policy, I kept reading it over and over again, I did not digest. We did not, in this policy, when you read it, we didn't include or even receive what our teachers were saying. Fortunately, I did visit schools. I did see handwriting. I did see limited times on the Chromebooks or tablets. These things that I checked as a check, as they were speaking as a check, we did that, check. Check, we're already doing that, check. When they were speaking. And the main word that the teachers were asking and saying, now, we just want balance. Don't eliminate, but balance. And I do wholeheartedly believe in balance because, as one of my colleagues has said, the pendulum is swinging. It really is. And if we don't teach our students digital leadership or education, where do we start? Now, the reason why I'm talking now is because when we were actually putting together changing the language in this policy on the floor, it became confusing. And it was confusing enough that, like my colleague said, it's not ready for prime time. Maybe we should consider taking it back and using it to compromise. Because if we're discussing it now, still on the floor and still changing the language, it is something awfully not right with this policy. It's not settling. And I know Chair Brown had the power of the gravel. But we need to consider our students and our teachers and our professionals that has really tried. And when we look, we got this leaflet talking about, we got this today, wanted to see. It is going to be not a minimal or moderate impact. It's going to be a severe impact on our teachers having to go back and do this again. And we haven't even got the cost of what the replacement is going to be like. What I say to my colleagues, I say it wholeheartedly because I am on the PRC committee. We have met several days, several months on this. I think it is fitted. I think it is right, consciously wise, that we send it back so that our teachers understand that we do support them and we do hear them, and keeping in mind all of our students. We're talking about accessibility and equality, equity with this policy. And right now, I don't feel it with what we've already done with this policy on the floor. Thank you.
Okay. So we are on, okay. We are on Mr. Cummings' substitute, Ms. Dwyer.
So I'm a little confused here. My colleagues that serve on the policy committee, I thought this was all in agreement. And so Mr. Cummings' motion there, this isn't the first time it's been presented, correct? Yeah. So there was a decision, a unanimous decision with the policy committee. They all came into agreement. This is not new. And we do support our teachers, but sometimes we listen to our parents as well. And we think about the development of our future potential students as well. And everybody's spouting off about 20 minutes. Well, okay, if it's just 20 minutes, then where's the argument? It's not the entire day. And in Ms. Weems' substitute, her amendment, she is allowing a leeway there for computer time. So I'm a little taken aback because this policy came tonight all in agreement. And they presented their policy, and now all of a sudden it's changed. So going forward for me, we did take time to think about this. We did research. We did listen to everyone, or we tried to, at least I tried to. And I'm also concerned about the developmental well-being of our students as well. And honestly, if it's 20 minutes, and some of you have talked about children using devices at home, well, there's the open door there. I'm sure a parent or someone will have a device in their company, and they will probably get on. But that's not the point here. We are a school division that sets a standard, and our standard should be above that. And our standard should consider the well-being and the developmental growth of each of our children. And if it means taking out 20 minutes, we can start there. I don't think that that is asking too much. Thank you.
So I've seen this before on boards, and this is just my personal opinion. Hunkering down in the weeds, promoting bureaucracy and a slowdown and a roll down. A classroom set was discussed in the PRC. The PRC made a modification and brought a policy forward. Vice Chair Weems made a motion, which interestingly passed 6-5, with the same language for English language learners added to it. And now we're coming to a classroom set, which is the same conversation that already occurred in the PRC. So I'm going to say this again. We're going to hear comments. If there's anybody that hasn't spoken, I'm going to ask that everybody limit their additional comments to a minute. I don't think, Ms. Rogers, you haven't spoken on the substitute based on my board here, so you have more than a minute. But if you haven't spoken, you can talk longer than a minute. If you're doing follow-up comment, 1 minute, we need to get moving forward. Ms. Rogers. You haven't spoken on the substitute, correct?
Thank you so much. First of all, this is part of our normal practice is that things go to PRC and they come up for a vote, and we don't always vote together to pass everything, and that's part of it. So I just wanted to make that for the public, that statement. But I also want to say about this substitute, I agree with my colleagues who say that this is the best compromise because I don't think anybody is completely happy. My biggest concern is the amount of training and cost that this is going to cost us to replace what we already have and we've already budgeted for, we've already paid for. We still don't know how much this is going to cost us to switch this quickly. And that is a big concern for me when we've already passed a budget. We haven't actually thought about, and we don't know how much this is going to cost. And so that's a concern for me. And then my other concern is how much training it's going to be for our educators who already go above and beyond, who already get so much training, so much expectations. To put yet another thing on them is something that I have been thinking a lot about since I've been talking to our educators. So you'll forgive me because I am getting a little mush-mouthed. But my point is that I will support the substitute. While I would still like to see a class set in kindergarten, I'm willing to make this compromise for a class set in first grade and 1-to-1 in second grade for now. And again, I do think that we have not, I don't believe that the cost factor has been considered. So this is, my big concern. Thanks.
Ms. Melnick?
Okay, I too like a class set for first grade. I just didn't understand what 10, like why was 10 the magic number? And maybe for Dr. Kelly, if there are 10 Chromebooks in a first grade classroom, what does that mean as far as like logging on? Because Chromebooks don't cost us anything. So if they can be kept on a cart and each student has one, is that easier and they just put it away? Or if there are additional logins each time a different student uses it? So is that?
Each student would have to log in themselves. Each student has their own login. So whether you have 10 computers out for students to use, they would have to alternate through it. So when they have their own computer, they only log into it, but when it closes down, they have to log into it again. With 10 devices, they would have to log in to a computer that was available during the time that they were, during that independent learning time. And then when the next student comes, they would log out and another student would log in.
Is there a chance that students just forget to log in and they're doing somebody else's work? That's the only thing I think about. As a former first grade teacher, that's what I think about. Like, there's going to be that cross, like, where you're just not going to know, did they log in, did they log out? And now I look really good because I just was on Alvita's stuff. But you know what I'm saying?
It could be a possibility. Dr. Goldberg, you can always add, but now the students leave their Chromebooks up and we talk to them about appropriate Chromebook usage. And I know this might sound interesting, but we do speak with students about not leaving their Chromebooks open. It's a safety issue, so that's part of the actual training that the students get to close their Chromebooks, to shut them down when they're not working with them. So that, just to let you know that is something about just Chromebook safety in general.
Okay, then I'm okay with that piece. Okay. I'm good.
Ms. Felton?
Thank you. I'd just like to repeat and reiterate some of what I said concerning my last message. This policy coming out of the PRC was a compromise. And while we are now on the floor talking about the same policy that we worked on several times, several months, several meetings, it was put together. And as I see us working on the policy, while it's being presented on the floor, and we are still working on the language in the policy, yes, I do have a concern with that. And I would and I will support what Mr. Cummings has put forth, because at least it hit on a lot of areas where the teacher had asked us to compromise. At least it did that. The one we have now has no real guidelines, no definitions, and then we're still working on it. Yes, I have a concern.
Okay. I call for the vote on Mr. Cummings' substitute motion. So if this passes, there will be no further discussion on this.
So, Madam Chair, we have 7 ayes and 4 nays, so the substitute motion by Mr. Cummings did pass.
Okay. All right. And now we are moving on to resolution approval to use design build project delivery method for CIP 1015 Princess Anne High School replacement or renovation modernization. I call for a motion to approve that resolution as presented. Moved by Vice Chair Weems, seconded by Dr. Alvita Green. Vice Chair Weems, will you please read the resolution?
Approval to use design build project delivery method for CIP 1-015 Princess Anne High School replacement or renovation modernization. Whereas the school board has determined that design bid build delivery method is not practicable or fiscally advantageous for CIP 1-015 Princess Anne High School replacement renovation. Whereas CIP 1-015 is projected to cost more than $40 million. Whereas the school administration has provided the school board with sufficient information that the design-build project delivery method is more advantageous than a competitive sealed bid construction method because it will allow early collaboration between the owner, designer, and contractor, which will result in improved coordination, efficiencies, cost, and schedule control, and will reduce construction conflicts, constructability, and risk of delays and change orders. Whereas CIP 1-015 is a complex high school project that includes, but is not limited to, integration of multiple educational programs, development of alternative renovation and replacement designs, coordination of the concurrent educational program either on site or off-site, integration of the project and construction into closely adjoined multiple-use properties, including retail, business, residential, educational, traffic control requirements, pump station work, environmental issues, and re-subdivision and title work on underlying lot lines. Whereas the school board will benefit from the use of design-build project delivery method, whereas the use of design-build project delivery method will require and it will be necessary to have compensable design, work to deliver a final guaranteed maximum price, and the chief operations officer or designee is in support of and shall approve the use of progressive design build alternate procedure following school board approval. Now therefore be it resolved, 1, the school board approves the use of design build project delivery method, which includes progressive design build procedures, which will be approved by the chief operations officer or designee following school board approval. 2, that the school board chair, the superintendent or designee, and legal counsel are authorized to take the necessary actions to ensure that the written determination for the use of design build project delivery method is completed and included with the procurement documents adopted by the school board of the city of Virginia Beach, Virginia, this 8th day of June, 2026.
Okay. Ms. Melnick.
Risk of delay. Okay, let's go back to the words "and risk of delays and change orders." Does this mean there will be no change orders? What if there's a change order that is, if it's a good change order for the division, maybe the substitution of specific materials that helps? I don't know. I just want to make sure I can vote on this because this isn't anything specific. This is just about, so I just have that question about change orders, the risk of delays and change orders.
Yeah, and I think, so working through design build, getting a guaranteed maximum price, doesn't mean that things don't happen during the project. You will have either allowances or contingencies built into the project to account for those changes that might otherwise be change orders, or know of other items that you can, rather than increasing the cost, switch out for those change orders, but really controlling that with allowances and contingencies.
Okay.
And we're working with procurement on, both the RFQ and the RFP proposals to ensure that we are building that into how people are proposing a guaranteed maximum price. But you are correct. It is hard to think you would not have delays or change orders
Yeah.
in a construction project.
Correct.
It's reality.
Yeah.
But it's to mitigate it and in order to improve the coordination and efficiencies and the control of those things through the processes we're setting forth in this type of delivery method.
Well, then I would just propose that sentence say, and to mitigate the risk of delays and change orders. Or,
I think it did, but yeah, allow early collaboration.
and you're,
I'm sorry, in this, it's the third whereas, in the last phrase, you're saying, where it now reads, and risk of delays and change orders, you're saying mitigate.
the potential of risk and, of whatever, just get it in there, because even reduce construction conflicts, that's the part it seems like so set in stone, like these aren't gonna happen because you're doing a design
Okay.
build instead of the bid build.
Let me see if what you're proposing is that we alter the amendment to alter the resolution, and again, third paragraph of the third whereas, and will mitigate construction conflicts, constructability, and risk of delays and change orders. Are you
I would
substituting
just,
mitigate?
yeah, just to stick the word mitigate in there, just so that it's not that because we're sending this out to the public, that these things aren't gonna happen, is the way it kind of reads. Like, there's not gonna be a change order, there's not gonna be a delay, there's not gonna be this. I would just stick the word mitigate in there, just to make it so that. Is that a motion? Why, okay.
I think you would make it, and it looks like you'd be making a motion on the third whereas after the and. I think you're saying and will mitigate construction conflicts, credibility, and risk of delays and change orders. Is that how you want it to read?
Yeah, just so the public, if somebody's reading, some people do, right? Like, you don't want it to say, well, somebody to come back and say, well, you read a resolution that said there weren't gonna be any change orders, and there aren't gonna be this. I would just say to mitigate, somewhere, stick that word mitigate in there.
Ms. Melnick, since this resolution is motioned and seconded on the floor, I'm going to need that to be an amendment.
Okay.
So if you could
We
make
could
that
just-
amendment, and then I can read the full sentence if you'd like.
Okay, so I just make an amendment that we insert the word mitigate.
For the word reduce
Correct.
in the third whereas.
Okay.
So I'm showing it on your paper.
I know, I did it there just to
mitigate risk of delays.
Okay,
That's what I'm reading. Is that your motion?
Well, you could do it that way. You could remain will reduce construction conflicts and to mitigate instead of instead of risks and to mitigate delays and change orders.
Okay,
And you would
that's
take out
fine.
risk of instead. That's how you want it to read. So let's see if I can get this. It would read, starting after schedule control, there's a comma, and then you would have it read, and will reduce construction conflicts, comma, constructability, comma, and to mitigate delays and change orders.
That's fine. And that's what I had written.
All right. So is there a second on that amendment? Okay. So amendment, a motion made by Ms. Melnick, seconded by Dr. Green. And I'm just gonna read, I'm gonna read the whole thing.
What you'd probably
while she's
write
putting
is
that in.
to replace risk of delays with to mitigate.
We're taking risk and to mitigate delays and change orders, is that correct?
To mitigate
Delays and change orders.
risk
Oh, okay.
of delays and change orders.
All right, so I'm gonna read it because I wanna make sure everybody knows exactly what we're voting on. It says, whereas the school administration has provided the school board with sufficient information that the design build project delivery method is more advantageous than a competitive sealed bid construction method because it will allow early collaboration between the owner, designer, and contractor, which will result in improved coordination, efficiencies, cost, and schedule control, and will reduce construction conflicts, constructability, and to mitigate risk of delays and change orders. So that to mitigate is the new part. That motion was made by Ms. Melnick and seconded by Dr. Green. That is amendment. So we're going to vote on the amendment and then it will be incorporated and if it passes. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, we're going to vote on the amendment to mitigate risk of delays and change orders.
That's all you have to do is watch HTV.
Ms. Melnick, how do you vote? Thank you. So, Madam Chair, we have 10 ayes and 1 nay. So the amendment by Ms. Melnick did pass.
Okay. All right, so now we are on the resolution with the amendment incorporated. Is there any further discussion on the resolution as amended? Okay, seeing none, I call for the vote to approve the resolution as amended. And again, that amendment is to mitigate risk of delays and change orders.
So, Madam Chair, we have 10 ayes and 1 nay, so the resolution did pass as amended.
Thank you. Okay, we are now on to committee organization and board reports. And before I open the floor, I just want to comment as our students enter into graduation and the end of the year, I want to congratulate all of our graduates on whatever chapter life has to hold for you as you're navigating that. And our students, I want to wish you, as you go into the summer, a great, restful summer break. Yes. All right, there we go, Miss Rogers.
Piggybacking off of that, I also want to thank all of our staff educators for their hard work in getting our students to this point in the school year. End is near, my friends, and I just want to let all of our staff know how much I appreciate all their hard work. We have an amazing group of people who are ushering these students into their next chapter, so thank you so much.
Vice Chair Weems.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment, Dr. Green and I had a wonderful time at a retirement of one of our PE teachers, and many of the staff, y'all were there too, and Ms. Hale from Louise Luxford has been the one and only PE teacher in that building for 50 years, 50. And I mean, everybody, so many people were packed in that gym. And Alvita and I were like crying, passing Kleenexes. And I went up to Ms. Hale, and I don't think I've shared this with you, Alvita, but I went up to Ms. Hale afterwards and I thanked her for her years of service, for her dedication, her love, her kindness, and what an impact she had made. And she looked at me and she said, what special thing did I do? And that just shows how humble she is. And I said, you came every day and you have impacted not only thousands of students, but several generations. But I mean, the spirit of humbleness that lady had was just unbelievable. And everyone loved her and we celebrated her. And it was just one of the highlights of my year. And I'm so glad that we got to share in that, Dr. Green. So I couldn't pass it up. But Ms. Hale, PE teacher for 50 years. 50 years. And she's just going to have adventure after adventure coming up, I'm sure, too. Thank you.
Do we have closed session? Yes. This is, if you could show it to me real quick. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. We are going to read into closed.
I move that the school board recess into closed session in accordance with exceptions to open meetings law set forth in Code of Virginia 2.2-3711, Parts A, Paragraphs 7, 8, and 29 as amended to deliberate on the following matters. 7, consultation with legal counsel and briefings by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation where such consultation or briefing in open meetings would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the public body. For the purposes of this subdivision, probable litigation means litigation that has been specifically threatened or on which the public body or its legal counsel has a reasonable basis to believe will be commenced by or against a known party. Nothing in this subdivision should be construed to permit the closure of a meeting merely because an attorney representing the public body is in attendance or is consulted on a matter. 8, consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by a public body regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel. Nothing in this subdivision shall be construed to permit the closure of a meeting merely because an attorney representing the public body is in attendance or is consulted on a matter. 29, discussion of the award of public contract or involving the expenditure of public funds, including interviews of bidders or offerers and discussion of the terms of scope of such contract, where discussion in an open session would adversely affect the bargaining positioning or negotiating strategy of the public body. Namely, to discuss A, Princess Anne High School CIP project, discussion on RFQ for owner, agent, and design build process, B, status of pending litigation or administrative cases, C, consultation with legal counsel regarding probable litigation and pending litigation matters.
Okay, motion made by Vice Chair Weems. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Dwyer. Any discussion? Seeing none, I call for the vote to go into closed session.
So, Madam Chair, we have 8 ayes. The motion to pass to go into closed session.
Whereas the school board of the city of Virginia Beach has convened and closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And whereas section 2-3712D of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the school board of the city of Virginia Beach hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which the certification applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered.
Okay. Moved by Mr. Cummings, seconded by Ms. Rogers. Any discussion? Seeing none, I call for the vote to certify closed session.
So Madam Chair, we have 10 ayes. The motion to pass for certification of closed session.
Thank you. It is 9:23 PM and we are adjourned.